Okay. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear us? Can you hear us in the chat? Yeah. One, two, three, four,
They said yes.
5, 6. No, we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're still waiting for. Do you know if Gloria's coming? Okay, and Tam's gonna be late. So we can have a presentation now. It's fine. Okay, so good evening, everybody. Can you hear us? Yes, you can hear us at home. Great. So my name is Craig Slutskin, and I am the president of CEC District 2. I will call this calendar meeting of CEC2 to order. I will ask the interpreters to make their announcements. Can you ask them to come in? Oh, yes. Sorry.
Here's the announcement for Mandarin speakers. 那今天晚上呢，我们就会有这个普通话的翻译服务。那如果大家有需要的话，就可以拿耳机，然后呢，用完之后呢，归还给我们就可以了。谢谢。
Buenas noches, este es para los de español. Si necesitan interpretación en español, estamos disponibles. Pueden agarrar unos dispositivos y al final del evento pueden regresarlos. Gracias.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm now going to ask our recording secretary, Erin Carr, to take roll call.
Okay. Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is here. Gloria Chu. Gloria Chu is absent. Daniela Egrov.
Excuse, she's sick.
Daniela Egrov is excused. Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy is here. Aaron Carr is here. Cody Lindquist. Cody Lindquist is here. Sam Lowe.
Sam is excused. Well, he may come online. I think he might be coming online later,
Okay.
but not here now.
Sam Lowe is excused. Tal Maisel Shea.
She's excused. She had
Tal is
graduation.
excused.
Graduating.
Rustam Mablanov. Rustam is here. Tamira Reed.
Absent.
Tamira is absent but en route. Sabina Serenese. Sabina is not here.
present
Oh,
virtual.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
She's there. She has an extraordinary circumstance.
Sabina is here virtually. Craig Slutskin.
Here.
Craig is here. Rachel Kenny. Rachel is here. Ethan Kwok.
He's absent.
Ethan is absent. We currently have 6
Right.
present,
So we-
1 virtual.
Right. So we do not have a quorum. You need quorum of 7 in person. We do expect to have 7. I know one person is late. I'm not sure about another person. So we do have that. We can't take any voting matters or discuss any voting matters right now. However, I think that's fine because we have a presentation and I think we're okay with doing that. It's not a voting matter tonight. But before we begin, I just want to remind everybody that we're here for the children of District 2. We have student representatives as part of the CEC and may have students watching at home as well. So I'm going to ask all speakers to be mindful of that when speaking. As a reminder, you need to sign up at https://bit.ly/CECD2-speakers. I'll put that in the chat in a moment to sign up for the public speaking session. You need to sign up by 7:10 p.m. to speak. Before we move on, I'm going to take a moment to review how we'll be using the chat tonight. This is the same procedure that we've been using for the past few months. I think it's been going fairly well. The chat will stay open for most of the meeting, but it will be closed during the superintendent's report and during public speaking. Outside of the 2 sections, it's going to remain available. When the chat is open, we'll ask everyone to keep comments respectful and focused on the meeting. The chat is public, including to students, so a good guide is to write in a way that you'd feel comfortable with your own child seeing. You're welcome to raise points or ask questions in the chat. Council members will check it periodically, but our main responsibility is to run the meeting. So we won't be watching the chat every moment, so we may not see things right away. We're trusting everyone to keep the space constructive. If something crosses the line, name calling, profanity, or something similar, we may remove someone or close the chat after a warning. But we're not monitoring the chat continuously, so we may not catch issues immediately, and we'll ask for everyone's patience and understanding. The goal here is simply to keep the meeting running smoothly for everyone. Council members also won't be deliberating in the chat. Those discussions need to happen in the open, where everyone, including those watching on YouTube or attending in person, can follow along. When the chat is closed, Participants will still be able to message the host for technical issues. For example, if the sound isn't working. A quick reminder, the most effective way to make your voice heard is by signing up to speak during the public session. The chat is not the official avenue for raising or debating issues, and it isn't part of the public record. If there's a topic you want the council to address, the public speaking session is the right place to bring it forward. And I thank everybody in advance for helping us keep the meeting respectful and productive. I would also like to note that Council Member Gloria Chu is now here. So we do have a quorum. We're now at 7. We do have a few guests here tonight. And what I would like to do, if the council is okay with it, because we don't have a lot of time with the commissioner, is I'd like to do the minutes and the reading of the resolutions, because we have a bunch of them. They may take like 10 minutes or so. I'd like to do that after the session with the commissioner. Is everybody okay? This way we can maximize the time with her. Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciate you indulging me on that. So we do have a bunch of guests, a number of guests here. Where's the DOE guy? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So we do have members from DYCD, and we do have a member from DOE as well. I think everybody knows the various issues with the various middle school after school programs that not only District 2 has had, but we've had and we've seen across the city in almost every district. Parents are extremely frustrated at many of the changes that have happened. Many of them, I think, would describe it as blindsided. And I think we're at a point where, with all due respect, I think the word debacle probably could be an appropriate word. We are fortunate enough to have the commissioner of DYCD to talk to us, to speak to us tonight. She has brought her team. We also have a member of, as I said, the Department of Education who liaises with DYCD and the commissioner in particular. So we're fortunate to have him as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. I don't know if you have anything to say. I mean, we have questions, but I don't know if you have anything, if you want to make a statement. Okay. Okay. I'm going to ask one or two questions, and then I'm going to have my council members. Since we only have a certain period of time, I'm going to ask the council members each to two questions each. If we have more time, we'll come back and ask more questions. I just want to make sure that it flows correct, it flows okay, and everybody gets an opportunity to ask questions. For those of you at home, we are checking the chat. If you have questions, please put them in. We may or may not get them. We will try to incorporate them into our questions as well. But why don't you introduce yourselves first? Oh, you have to press the button. Okay. Why don't we give you this one, because this you don't have to press. That's perpetually pressed.
So you don't.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sandra Escamilla Davies, and I am the Commissioner of DYCD, and I am grateful for this moment to answer questions and also to listen to any concerns you want to share in this moment.
Hi, I'm Susan Haskell, Deputy Commissioner Youth Services at DYCD. I'm joined by my colleague at DYCD, Michelle Rosa.
Oh, sorry.
You can also press, if you press the button on that, it does work.
Just press and hold.
You have to
Yeah, press it and hold it.
The Director of Strategic Partnerships are working the vision of community support and family partnerships.
Thank you. So I'm going to start off, and I'll ask both of my questions, and you can answer them. So the first question I have is relating to sports and the MSAL. You know, a lot of parents, this is one of the things I hear about the most is, okay, one of the things I've heard about the most is the fear of a lot of the sports not translating into the new programs. You used to have Manhattan Youth in a lot of our schools. It was very easy to coordinate. You had one provider who can easily go from Baru to Wagner to Lab Middle. Now you don't. You have Manhattan Youth, you have Imogen, you have the JY, the tennis place, you have the YMCA, you have different providers. It's going to be hard to coordinate on all four of them and others. Now, my understanding, and I've been told several times as well, what they can do is they could subcontract. They could subcontract out up to 20 or 30%, I think it's 30%. I don't think that's realistic. I think that's great if they do subcontract some of those services, but you're asking a provider to give up some of their business, some of their contract. And I don't think anybody's going to proactively do that to give it up to especially a competitor. Someone is going to need to tell them you have to do this if they're going to coordinate the sports amongst these schools. I've heard, for example, at Clinton that one of their teams, because Manhattan Youth is not connected to many of the other schools, now the volleyball team is going to have to go up to Inwood, which is far for some of these kids. Some of these kids are what, 10 years old in middle school, 11 years old. So it's quite a sort of death of a program. So that's not my first question is can you talk about how that's going to work and how MSAL will continue, if it will continue, in all of these programs. The second is about spots. Now, I know seats are not students, right? So I understand, and I think most of us understand that seats are not necessarily do not translate into students. But you know, we've seen reports that some schools got less than half of the seats that they got last year. I know, for example, Lab Middle had 200 and something and now is down to 105. But this morning, and I thank you for that, it got restored to the original number. But the question I have is, how do we ensure that every student who wants to go to a middle school after school program can do it? Regardless of the number of spots, my understanding, and I don't have a middle school child, but my understanding in talking to many people was that Manhattan Youth always made sure enough kids, or any kid who wanted to be in the program, were in the program, regardless of how many slots. They figured it out, whether they got it through private financing, whether they just ate it and they just let them in. How are we going to make sure that every kid in every middle school in District 2, and really across the city, it's not just a D2 issue, will get a middle school after school spot that they desire?
I want to take the question about sports first, because I think that's a really important one, and one that's been raised by a lot of parents that I have spoken to, specifically in relationship to Manhattan Youth. And today we met with Bob from Manhattan Youth to talk about that, because I know that he services 225 schools. So he's really doing the lion's share of a lot of the heavy lifting of, these sports across New York City. And so in the conversation, which he can share more himself, we talked about how do we preserve the role that Manhattan Youth has played in the city, not just for their after school programs, but across the city. And so we are committed to partnering with him to figure out both what investments need to be made around this, around the school sports, and what kind of partnerships need to be leveraged outside of the Compass contract. Because he did subsidize this outside, not just using Compass funds, but also outside, leveraging outside funding. So we're committed to supporting that process, and we've been talking to him. Also, this idea of the coordination, which I hear, and also the idea of, the responsive. Are the new programs going to be responsive to the needs of the community? And one of the things that's really critical is that that's part of what's written into the work that they have to do. They have to listen to what providers, to what communities want. And so that's very much part of their own needs assessment and the transition that they're going to be having with the school leaders, with the parents, and with the young people, and then to be responsive to that. And we have found that a lot of organizations, they build their bench based on some of the needs that occur, but also they build and forge partnerships, and they subcontract when necessary. We are taking the transition really seriously, and we are trying to help the transition happen with Manhattan Youth in the mix, as well as the new provider and the principal, to ensure that there's some continuity of the programming that has been effective and that folks are really concerned about not having anymore. So we've heard really the pleas of parents and of young people. Now, in terms of the slots, I'm going to just turn it over to Susan, who can talk a little bit about slots and guarantees.
I think I appreciate that question. I think we did slot allocations in 2 stages. So we made awards with slot allocations, and then DYCD reserved enough funding to ensure that every school could get up to the level that they were funded before. So after awards were made and seats were public, we had those negotiations. We understand at Lab, for example, there will be the full 225 seats, but it's taken a little bit of time across the awards to bring people up to their full allocations. So I think we've gotten there. We've secured the full seats that are being expected, for example, at Lab.
Right, but let's say you get more demand. Let's say you have 200 slots, whatever seats. And let's say you have more, Manhattan Youth used to just accommodate everybody. What happens, what guarantees have you gotten from YMCA and the tennis folks that they will accommodate everybody?
I appreciate that question, and I want to like come back to the Compass model and the Compass funding, and like there is value in looking at the number of seats that we're funding, and the number of seats that we fund at 225 would be like 225 kids that you operate Monday to Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Each provider takes that model slightly differently, and Manhattan Youth definitely has a unique approach where they will, enroll at times the entire school body. All 850 kids at a particular school would not be able to come to programming and meet the regulatory staffing levels required in a Compass program, in a DYCD funded program. So I think Manhattan Youth has created a model where kids can have touch points that are not necessarily like frequent, but allow for like a broader audience. There may be, depending on the needs of the school, more young people who really need like a childcare model. That's the technical term. I'm using childcare. These are middle school students. They have voice and choice. That gives them a more comprehensive set of services. There are sixth graders, for example, where parents are working families who really need care more consistently. So I think one of the things that a provider will need to do is assess what the situation is at the school. You're describing a model where it has very broad reach, but not necessarily like depth of reach Monday through Friday. And part of that will be navigated by the provider at each school.
Okay. I'm going to turn it over because I want to let my colleagues ask. I'd like to give Allison, Gavin, and Cody the opportunity to ask questions first, if that's okay. Just given their schools, who wants to go? The three. What?
Thank you, Allison Bowen. And I'd like to speak a bit specifically to lab because I'm very familiar with the situation there. But I'd just like to start overall by saying that I'm disappointed and angry, as are many parents, as you well know, about both the process and the outcomes. I think that there are a lot of irresponsible decisions made, and I think that lab is a prime example of that because of the great partnership that they've had with Manhattan Youth over so many years. And the principal ranked Manhattan Youth top category excellent, and they ranked the other providers in the lowest category. And that was disregarded, both the track record that Manhattan Youth had at the school and the principal's request. And I think what has been presented to date by the Y is not meeting what the students and the families at the school need. I'd like to say, and I think this is extremely important, that this contract was awarded to someone who has never run a middle school program. And when they came in and presented what they were going to do for after school to the administration, they presented an elementary school model. Even with the paper, the materials handed out saying elementary school. So kids would get together, have a snack, they would have homework help, and then they would break into a handful of activities in a group. You've got to be kidding me. Lab middle school students do not need babysitting. 20 years ago, this is where Lab was before they built up the program that they have today with Manhattan Youth. And you know how many people attended then? How many kids? Very few. These kids are out in the street. They're not staying for that. I feel like you have let go 25 sports programs, a debate team, a drama club that stages a full musical production every year, and tons of other clubs, STEM, cooking, all of these other things that the Y is simply incapable of presenting and servicing for lab students. And there's zero valid reason for you to have removed Manhattan Youth from the school, zero. And I feel like you have the ability, because Manhattan Youth has appealed this decision, as they've appealed many others. This is a prime case where you should reflect on who was granted this contract and consider the appeal by Manhattan Youth and reinstate them. I understand from what you said earlier that you're hoping that the Y and other groups will rise to the challenge, but there's no evidence and no basis for that hope. It's a prayer, it's a wish. We have 10 weeks until the start of school, and they have not shown any inclination to want to meet what the school community needs, nor the infrastructure or the capacity to deliver on it, even if they were to say, we want to do this. I understand you have a meeting with the school administration set up to talk about how you can work with the Y to do this, but frankly, I don't think that you can expect much out of that meeting in terms of the capabilities of the Y to do this. And I think your real path forward here with Lab is to reinstate Manhattan Youth, and that is within your power to do that. So my question for you is, what are you going to do to address this situation?
So part of what the protest period is, so I want to acknowledge two things. I want to hold two truths here. I appreciate you kind of talking about your anger and disappointment, because I want to hold that. And I've been holding that for many children, youth, and families in New York City that did not get their school choice, which is, by date, it's like 30% of schools did not have continuity of program, and close to 70 did. And so we're holding that reality, and we're also holding the reality of that this was part of a procurement process that had guidelines. And, I say this tentatively because I'm not hiding behind procurement. I'm really naming what I am beholden to, which is a series of regulations and a process by which we do procurement that allows for competition, accountability, innovation, and opening up the aperture for a wider net of providers. It has been 10 years since we have been entered in the procurement process, which is longer than we should. And so for those 10 years, the benefits have been that there has been continuity of care, that there has been real relationships, and wonderful benefactors have been young people. And Manhattan Youth has grown their footprint through the 10 years that they've been partnering with DYCD. The downside about that is that it gave the expectation that this was permanence. And the way that city government funds work is that they must be procured. It's not something that I can change, right? It's not something that I can change that decision. And so the process of protest means that we ask the questions: did we follow the guidelines of the procurement process? Was there anything that we did that was not aligned with what we said the RFP was going to evaluate? And if the answer to that is that we did not do due diligence, then we reconsider. Unfortunately, and and the other things that I think that are really important is that we've been having conversations and we've been having briefings with Manhattan Youth and every provider who has been non-awarded, and we've been going over our methodology. We have demonstrated the way that we aligned what we were aligning to. So I want to be clear that there's that, and then there's the unintended impact that it has on the school community, and both of those things are true. But I want to clarify that I and my team do not have the power to make an exception outside of the procurement rules. We must abide by those procurement rules, and that's what we're doing. And so in that transition, we're trying to honor, how do we transition when there has been an unintended impact for these rules? And we are seeing that families are, suffering, quite frankly. And so we're trying to lean into transition, and we're trying to figure out how to prepare organizations like the Y and others to be able to meet this moment. And that we also put in an RFP that they demonstrated, according to the guidelines that they were provided, that they are high quality programs, and they run programs throughout New York City. And so they, along with other providers, that's what we're holding them accountable to. And if they do not deliver, any organization that does not, then there is a path also to deal with that as it progresses.
You asked one question, you
Mhm.
get a follow-up, and then we'll go to Cody again.
I understand that you're waiting for them to fail to remove them, as the Y has been removed at other schools just recently. But that's not a solution for our kids. These kids have one chance at 6th grade, one chance at 7th grade, one chance at 8th grade. If you make a mistake, you get a do-over next year. Kids don't get to do over their 6th grade.
Yeah.
They don't get a chance to be exposed to a program, a new sport, They don't get a chance to build on those fundamentals. They get cut from the high school teams here in the city that are so competitive because they were the ones that missed out on the middle school athletic league. Basically, they don't get to be a champion because in their 8th grade year, you've just taken away everything they built for 2 years. And you want to see if the Y can do it and then wait for them to fail to remove them. I think you are hiding behind procurement, because what we haven't seen is any transparency on this process. And I'm really disappointed to hear you say that the appeals process is essentially a sham because no one's sharing what the real decision-making criteria was so that we can evaluate whether or not DYCD actually followed their own process. Because from where I sit and from where 6, 7, 8, 10,000 other families sit, it doesn't look like you did. And I feel like if you're not going to appeal, to listen to these appeals and overturn the instatement of organizations like the Y, then frankly, someone should call for your resignation, and we should be writing to Mark Levine and telling him to put a stay on this contract and not approve a single one of these.
Yeah. I'd like to respond by saying that I am not waiting for the Y to fail. I am supporting the Y to succeed. And I don't think this is a forum to identify the shortcomings of what you think is another CBO. I do know that the Y has stellar programs, and that comes from a practitioner that has been in the field for 30 years. 30 years, and I have had great partnerships with the Y, but I'm not making this about the Y. I'm actually making about what we want to do for children, youth, and families. And I am beholden to the law. I am beholden to a procurement process. And if I need to submit my resignation because I'm asked to do something outside of the law, then I will step down myself. But to be said that I can break the law and not follow procurement, or that it has not been transparent, is not a good indication of who I am as a practitioner and as a leader in this field for 30 years. So I want to make sure that I am clear, that I have done my due diligence, that I have read every single report, that you can speak to every single person in Manhattan Youth, especially the leader who I have repeatedly spoken to. I have gone through every single proposal, looking and searching and making sure that we followed the law. So it has not been opaque. It was actually very transparent. It was an RFP that was very clear about what the rules were. And on the other side of this, the things we can't share, the provider can share. Manhattan Youth can share that data, which we have given willingly. I have spoken to Bob over the weekend. I have read every single proposal. So I want to be clear that I am committed to doing the right thing, but I cannot overturn rules and laws that I am beholden to. That is not what I came to do at DYCD. But I am here to hold space for all of the emotion. I'm here to hold space for the transition, but I can't break the rules. I just can't.
Thank you. So either one. Good.
First of all, I just want to say that I also have a 6th grader at Lab Middle School, and he's not a sports kid. He's a theater kid. He's a newspaper kid. He's a Magic the Gathering kid. And that, yes, woohoo, that developmentally appropriate after school programming that he got allowed him to have friends across all grades. It allowed him to grow his confidence. It allowed him to become a tween boy who's thriving. And I really do think all of that is from getting developmentally appropriate after school programming. Echoing some of the things that Allison has said, and that what a lot of people at Lab, I know specifically Lab and Wagner, I have a lot of friends that go to Wagner too, are concerned about is, sports is obviously, Craig brought up the question about working to make sure that sports programs are easily coordinated between schools. But I do think that a lot of times those other things that aren't sports slip through the cracks. And these kids are very challenging to get right. Like they're kind of little kids and they're also kind of mini adults. And one of the things that Manhattan Youth has had from their vast years of experience is figuring that out. And I think what a lot of us are very concerned is not that the YMCA won't eventually figure it out, but will they figure it out in time for my son next year? Because again, these after-school programs are just so important for friendships and social development, which I would argue is one of the most important things at this time. So I guess, you know, I echo similar question of what Allison was. How can we be guaranteed that they are going to continue that same interesting programming that they have now? You know, it's really sad and scary to think that they won't have that same. And again, not saying that the Y won't eventually figure it out, but are they going to figure it out in time, you know, for my kid to experience it and not my second kid who's 4 years younger than him?
I think I appreciate that question. You've certainly hit on some points that we agree with 100% about how important that stage is. I think something that comes to mind is that it will be hard for any CBO provider in any school in this city to be successful without your support. I think that many of the providers who are going through transitions have valuable time right now to understand from the school community, from principals or parents or whoever they're meeting with, to understand like what it is you love about the program that you have now, that you love theater, like that these are the things your kids are drawn for too, that other kids are only into sports and that's their way to get into other social emotional supports is through their love of athletics. DYCD will support our providers across this vast system of 818 schools and including District 2 schools and including Lab and including Wagner. Like we are here, Michelle and I are here. We work closely with Jay. We want to be held accountable to high quality program. That's what we do day after day after day. And I would like to think that we had a role in supporting Manhattan youth to be successful in your school, and we will do that same thing for brand new, smaller providers, for long established providers, for very community specific providers such as District 2. Like you can hold us responsible, but we have to start, if we want them to be successful, you want our guarantee, we have to start supporting them to understand like what it is you want and developing those plans and hiring staff that's going to meet that. We have to start doing that now. So if we can't look forward and start planning ahead, it's going to be very hard to give that kind of guarantee.
But I mean, you do see why, and I know you say you're here to hold space for how frustrated and upset we are. But you see why we're talking about starting from the ground up. And we had a program that was successful. And I think part of the reason that people are angry and skeptical is because you're sitting here asking for our input and our partnership. But our input and our partnership was not taken into consideration when you made the decision. And I feel like that is where this comes from. So it's very hard for us to partner with you, to trust you when we feel as though none of our opinions were ever asked. And, you know, Manhattan Youth hasn't been taken out of every school. So that's what's frustrating about it is like, well, you talk about the procurement process, but none of us really can understand what that is. If they were not doing good work, then why are they in some schools and not others? It just feels arbitrary. And yes, we want to partner, we want to make this work, but you have to understand that there is a lot of mistrust. And I don't know how we move forward without having some transparency on why these decisions were made.
I mean, I really appreciate what you're saying about the logic behind this, what happened. And so each school was its own competition. And in some areas, we had really a lot of competition. So you could have still had a viable proposal, right? You could have had 10 schools and 10 providers applying to one school, and 8 of them could have had viable proposals. And for clarity, viable means that they had above a 70 points, right? And so they were competing against a pool of people that had 90s, 95s, 80s. And so then we did the ranking, right, according to the RFP. Whoever demonstrated it was based on score, on the scoring and the criteria that was on the RFP.
So for instance, at Lab, so you're saying that all of that was taken into consideration, including principal input, that was part of the scoring,
Yeah.
and
Uh,
they still.
No,
No.
the score, principal input was not a part of the scoring.
Okay.
Principal input was advisement, and it often served as a tiebreaker. If we had two providers that scored the same, close to the same within a 2-point difference, we used the principal ranking as a tiebreaker. So
Okay.
there were some proposals, which again, we can't speak specifically about Manhattan Youth, but there had been providers who'd come to the table, and when they saw, for example, that they ranked maybe 5 out of 5 proposals, and that even though they ranked 1, they did not have a viable proposal. That then helped them, and then we walked them through where they felt short in the RFP.
It just, I mean, you have to understand from our point of view,
Of
then it's
course.
like, okay, so then Manhattan Youth wasn't good enough for lab, but it's good enough for Clinton,
Yeah.
or, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So from our
Yeah.
point of view, it just feels like that feels very
Yeah.
arbitrary. And
Yeah.
again, it breeds mistrust. And I think
Yeah.
that's what we're.
Yeah. And part of what we're trying to do is we're trying to create more clarity around what the procurement process is, right, in general. And we've been working with other parent leaders to help us translate this better, because we do know that it's not landing, right? We're talking about the technical terms, and we're also talking about the human spirit that understands what their lived experience is. And we're trying the juxtaposition of that, and the paradox of that is it can be daunting, but we can provide more line of sight specifically around the methodology. We can't give the exact scores of Manhattan Youth, but Manhattan Youth can give the scores. We have met with them. We have done 2 briefings with them. They understand the scores. We have revisited their proposals. We have looked at every single angle, and we arrived where we arrived.
Before we get to Gavin, just for the record, Councilmember Reed was here at 6:50, so 6:50 or so. So Gavin, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm grateful to you all for coming tonight. I'm sure you expected a tough crowd. I don't actually question the transparency of the process. I don't think that's really the right word to use here. I mean, I appreciate that there are procurement rules that were followed. But I do think that transparency and sort of the communication process are 2 very different things. And so where I see sort of the failure is not the transparency, or, I appreciate that everyone followed the procurement process as set out under the law. But I don't think people really understood that process. And I mean, I read through the procurement rules, after the fact. But until, that there was a particular weekend when I found out that there was this transition from, at my child's school, from Manhattan Youth to another program. Before then, I didn't even know that there was a procurement process ongoing. And I think most people didn't. And when I spoke to our principal, I think she was also kind of, I mean, I think she had more of awareness than I did. But when you've been with a program for a decade or more, and then you face this potential to be disrupted, it's a very difficult thing for people. And so certainly the reaction in our school community was one of, feeling, was anger, was, was kind of this feeling of confusion about, like, where did this come from? And so I think there was a major sort of shortfall in how that was, like, communicated to families. Because now we can ask questions about the RFP, but we should have been asking questions about the RFP, in the fall, when it would have maybe mattered. So I guess going forward, my question for you is what are you going to do to support programs and schools and students in this transition? Because we know that this is, there's a fairly tight time frame for new programs to come in. And I guess the second part of that question is, what are the checkpoints going forward to ensure that these different programs, many of them are new, are actually, like, complying with what they said they would do under the RFP?
Yeah. I really appreciate the feedback around our communication. It is something that we have been reflecting on deeply, and that we realized that we did not thread this needle right in terms of the communication. That I don't, you put out an RFP, you put out a concept paper, and we didn't necessarily have the line of sight for folks who were not going to be awarded, what the message needed to be upfront. That there is this procurement process, these are the implications, this is the process. And we as an organization, I think, could have done a much better job around doing that. So I want to own that and take responsibility. And I also know that we co-own that with the providers, right? Like, I feel like we needed to support providers. There were some providers in the very beginning, they understood, they were like, this is an active competition. So when I was on the other end of this, on the receiving end of this, I had 20 schools. And I said to my team and to my principals, listen, there is a good chance that we will not be here anymore. And we had scenario planning A, B, and C. And there were some providers who they were like, no, this is okay. We're going to be okay. So we don't want to learn at the expense of heartache and trials, but we have learned a valuable lesson about how to engage parents moving forward, and how to be clear that when we do surveys or when we're doing concept papers, that we're saying this is actually going to lead up in the next 18 months to this moment. So we're doing a lot of recovery that we did, like this was like almost something that we didn't have to do, right? Because we could have had a really different conversation. So I really appreciate that feedback. Now, in terms of the transition, one of the things that we have had, and yes, like I have really appreciated the parents that are part of Manhattan Youth, because I feel like the level of candor and rigor that they have put in and thoughtfulness has really helped us to be a better agency and understand this. And we realized that we couldn't make a transition that was very transactional, like check, check, check. They met, they had this appointment. And we really realized that we need to really lean into this as a change management process. So we are securing the support of 3 intermediaries to help us with change management, and to help us think about how to transition for what might be a year-long transition, where we're doing the partnership between the school and the provider, and really figuring out how to shepherd change, right? Because we know change is a process. It's not an event. It's not going to just happen because they get into the building. That there is really a culture shift that has to happen. And so we are embarking those agencies, but we're also leaning on former principals that have done school reform and that understand the principal perspective. Because one of the feedbacks that we got is like, a principal is trying to manage a school. This is a really big shift. So we leaned on a lot of people that have done small school reform, and we're going to use them as coaches through this process. And again, it might be for the summer, and folks might need it year round. I'll let Susan talk a little bit about kind of what happens if they're not successful and what our milestones are.
We are beginning immediately tomorrow, all day tomorrow. It's tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. Every CBO that's been awarded will begin connecting with DYCD and our capacity building providers. Excuse me. On everything from like implementing social emotional learning, developing a proper schedule, how to engage and do outreach to young people, financial management, learning our technology systems, and understanding the rubrics that our team will be going out to the site to look for. Are you properly staffed? Are your staff cleared? Are they respectful in engaging with young people? Is your schedule including voice and choice for middle school students? And is it representing a range of kids from the ones who love theater to the ones who love sports? How are you connecting with parents and families? And how are you connecting with the principal to kind of align what's happening in the after school day to what's happening in the school day? These are the kinds of things that my team will be focused on like every day from today forward, leading up to the school opening. And I think it's fair to acknowledge that it's going to be a fresh start, and we will be relying on a lot of communication. Like, we really want to see more of this. Kids are not into that. Can we make shifts? And we're going to keep that process going throughout the life of the contract.
Sorry, you had one. I said 2. You had 1. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, I think Councilmember Reed had her questions.
Yeah, thank you. Taking all of it in. So my son was in Manhattan Youth since kindergarten until the end of 8th grade. And he's a student with multiple disabilities. I'm a single parent, always rushing around. And Manhattan Youth provided a second family to him and supported me in supporting him. And I'm not alone in that. And they're family. They're that trusted. There are qualities about Manhattan youth, the people that work there and work with our kids every day that you can't capture on an RFP and you cannot quantify. And so when I hear procurement and when I hear money and when I hear RFP, I'm like, what about all of those people that sat with my son when I was stuck on the train and running from work and never complained about it, never gave me shit about it, sorry for the S word, but had everybody's back, right? Didn't care if there were kids that were like dysregulating or weird that someone was chewing on their shirt or what. It was supported the whole family so that the student could be successful and be loved and be seen. You can't quantify that in an RFP. We can ask them for all of this stuff that you say we can ask them for that you can't provide us with because of law, right? But we can't get it from anybody else, from the other CBOs unless they want to give it to us. So how are we supposed to compare? We'll see where Manhattan Youth is at and how you ranked them, right? And their viability, but what goes into viability of a proposal? These conversations that should have happened before, right? Before this, because our kids are more than just procurement pieces. I want to make sure that students with disabilities are fully supported by the Y and any other CBO you use, because Manhattan Youth has an outstanding record of including those children and they're actually trained to work with them. The Y has not been my experience when I've had to work with the Y. So records, do you look at their track records? Is that part of the procurement process? Is that on the RFP? What's their record of inclusion? What's the model look like? Has it been tried and tested, right? Have there been complaints? Have there been access issues? These are all things that I would want to know before my child went there, right? So I just want to, it's not a question, it's just an ask. Please look holistically at the aspect of inclusion.
Sorry, just can I add something that is in the chat that's very relevant? I think this is a lab parent, but they were asked today if the YMCA had any disability access plan, and they did not.
There are, you know, I'm interested to engage in this dialogue. I very much appreciate that feedback. Inclusion is a critical component of the compass, and we've actually taken the opportunity of doing this new RFP to boost the supports for students with disabilities in the compass contracts. Every school-age childcare program that we fund has requirements around training and accommodation plans for any kid who needs support to be able to participate successfully in the program. And DYCD will have a process to review situations where anyone is struggling to participate fully in the program so that we can provide some technical assistance and capacity building to try to understand what supports are needed for this young person to be successful. That is part of our practice and protocol across programs, and it will be with the YMCA. And I assure you, they will be ready with a plan to hear from families and young people. What do you need to be successful? What supports does your child need? What techniques can we use? What activities are important to them? What timeout do they need? What special space do they need to be able to calm down when they need to? What additional supervision do they need to make sure that they don't get out of the building, you know, before it's appropriate? Those are the kinds of questions that they'll be asking. And we need that information from families. We need that from parents, right from the point of enrollment.
Just as a follow-up to that, I'll just say that that all sounds great, you know, but I've also seen the most beautifully written IEPs that never get put into practice. So that to get these contracts, to get the, you know, to get the procurement, to get the big thing, they're going to tell you all kinds of stuff, right? And you're going to say, you need to do these things, like an IEP is mandated. These are mandated services, kids don't get them. What happens when that happens? How are you going to know? How's the progress monitoring going to actually look? And just a check-in or a reach out to parents isn't going to cut it. There needs to be a really hardy system in place to make sure that that inclusion is happening and it's happening appropriately.
I agree.
Can you talk about the investments in capacity building around that area?
We are investing additional resources. I mean, we've had some capacity building throughout, but we're investing a ton of resources in everything from coaching and training advice, on-site supports when there's a situation where the young person's need aren't being met. We hear about those situations and we want to ask all the right questions. It's on us to understand, has anybody come to sign up hasn't got any meets? Did anybody leave the program? If so, why? What can we do about supports? Is a paraprofessional needed? The young person has it during the school day. Is it also needed during the afternoons? Do you have proper access to nursing and where somebody has a medical need? Do you have the staff going through the specialized training that they need to be able to administer medications? Those are questions our team will be asking. And not just the RFP proposal period is passed. This is about actual services on the ground. And that's the kind of work that we're doing every day with programs. And in our experience, community-based organizations want the help that they need. They want to do right by young people, and they will say to DYCD, like, we need a support here. We need your help servicing this young people. This family came, and I'm not sure we're going to be able to provide these accommodations. We're going to have a process to go through that. Let's talk. Let's sit down and begin that interactive dialogue so we can understand what's needed and do our best to get those resources as soon as possible.
Okay, who has not asked? Go ahead. No, maybe you get your two questions also, then we'll go around.
So my biggest concern is around disability law. And it's concerning to me, and this is a bit of a question and also a comment. Was a disability access plan part of what you evaluated in the procurement process?
That's a good question. I don't exactly know how that was incorporated into the questions. I'm gonna get back to you on that. It's absolutely incorporated in the RFP and it was a part of the concept paper.
But if-
Inclusion and disability access is part of the plan. I think you're asking specifically about like the questions and the rating. I don't have those details.
I mean,
Give me-
it just concerns me, and this isn't to target the YMCA, it's just based on what, the conversation going on in the chat. If they don't have a disability access plan, they've stated this today in June, then when you were going through the process, if disability access plan was part of the RFP, and they're saying they don't have one, those are contradictory. So I'm just trying to make sense of where disability access was really evaluated. Because I do think, and this is, again, it's not about like pitting one provider against the other, but if you have a provider who has a long-standing record of providing access to students with disabilities, and then you have a provider who says they have no disability access plan, but they want to develop one, that's concerning. We have a lot of students in New York City who have disabilities. There are federal and state laws that protect them, and it feels like, and this is not like, obviously it's not, I'm not making a legal statement, but it based on what I'm hearing, it seems iffy as to whether or not those laws are being adhered to.
Well, the first thing I want to say is like, we don't our providers don't have access to your children's IEPs. We
Right,
don't
I
have
understand that.
families to give us that, but right up front is going to be the question, like, what does your child need to be successful? I want to follow up with you about who you talk to because there will be a disability plan in place and there will be a disability process. We're going to be initiating all of that work over the course of leading up to September, but I want to make sure that wherever this gap is that you've identified, that we fix that right away because I don't believe, yeah.
And also, I also want to open space for the why to be at the table and answer some of these questions in your presence, because I think part of what's happened also, like today I was speaking to a provider, I know somebody called me and said, the Y cannot do X, Y, and Z. Or the tennis league, and I call the executive directors. I'd like to get a sense, did you say this? And they're like, no, we actually have not said that. So I feel like there is also miscommunication that's occurring. I'm not sure at what level and who's meeting with who, but we are committed to the senior leadership coming together with multiple level staff and getting clarity. Because my concern is that things that might have been said out of nerves or things that might have been misspoken or not understood are now taking on a life of their own. And I don't want to go down that path without the Y having the ability to say who they are and who they've been to this field for decades. You know, I've known them, I know that agency for a very long time, as well as Manhattan Youth, and they both have stellar reputations. And yes, like any other organizations, there are missteps across the board, but they have done really good for the field and they have done really good by sports as well. So my offering here is a meeting with the YMCA to hear from them firsthand and then to make decisions based on that as well. But we're going to support them. We want them to succeed. We want them to succeed and we're going to support them.
And
I just want to clarify in the chat that it wasn't the Y, it was the New York
Tennis.
Junior Tennis and
Yeah.
Learning, or the ones that replied and said that they don't have a disability plan, access plan. So I'll send
And we
that
could,
to you.
yeah, and we
Yeah.
could follow up with them as well because we're in conversation with them, because if that's the expectation and the need, we're going to require that as well.
I'm just going to add something very quickly. I don't know if you were aware of all the testimony we had at our last meeting, but we had educators, principals, students, and parents come to speak about how they felt they were completely left out of this process. And while I understand that you have a process and it was followed legally, I guess it's odd to me that so many principals were taken like they had the rug pulled out from under them.
Yeah.
That seems strange to me, like a
Yeah.
weird way for the process
Yeah.
to work.
Yeah, and I would say that I do think it was about the communication and how many times we had to say the same thing and we had to do more of it. The chancellor was advised of this, the superintendents, principals, everybody was notified of these changes. This was something that was done and we have artifacts. Like if you want to see the letters that went out, people were aware of this RFP. We had conversations, we did webinars, we did all of those things. I think we didn't thread the needle across every stage of the process, but it was very clear that this RFP was going out, and also providers understood what it meant for them, and they shared with their principal and with their constituents about the roles that they could play. We as an organization, we are supporting providers to do the work that they're doing with communities. There are providers who came to the table when they wrote the RFP and engaged their community and their families. And that was a really good practice. And we felt like we should have been much more instructive about how to do that and the different types of supports that we could have given them to engage families. But it was different and even across the board. And so we felt we wanted to double down. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about.
I want to interrupt. I just want to interrupt 1 second. Principals were, for the record, principals were asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Is that correct?
No, a non-disclosure agreement?
That they were not able to tell, that's what principals have told us, we've reported to us, several of us,
Yeah.
that they were not allowed to discuss
But
this with their
I want
communities.
to, I don't want to conflate two things.
Yeah.
Did the principals know about the RFP? Yes. Did they understand it was competitive? Yes. Now you're asking a different question about the ranking, and I'd like Susan to answer that.
I want to say the process for us in communication with New York City Public Schools began a long time ago. And we worked very closely with Jay and his team around the concept paper period to make sure that people knew there were going to be some public sessions. You could come and hear our concept paper. At that point, we were accepting feedback from the public, from everybody.
Wait, when was this? Sorry.
That helped, I can give you the dates, that helped inform the RFP. Before the RFP was released, superintendents were asked to weigh in on
Sorry, did any parents actually participate in this? Because I'm looking around the table. I mean, we're all parents. Did any of us, well, and we've been on the CC, did any of us know about this? I'm just asking. You were, okay.
Right. I think your original question was about superintendents and non-disclosure. So in order to inform the RFP, we worked with New York City Public Schools to connect with superintendents. There is an RFP happening. These are the schools that are planned to be on the list. DYCD is maintaining our commitment to every school that already has services. We want continuity of service. We are not committed to the CBO, but we are committed to the schools. Superintendents were asked to weigh in and confirm they want a program. They're going to continue. They're ready to sign up. The RFP went out. We did additional public sessions where we invited principals and superintendents to come learn more about the RFP. when the RFP was closed and the proposals were in, we did sessions with principals and superintendents about what the principal ranking process was and what it wasn't. And what it required is that the designee, let's say the principal, read very specific parts of the proposal, questions that were geared specifically to the school, and rate those responses based on what was proposed by the CBO, not to take into, because we're not allowed to do that, additional information. We're not allowed to ask the school community, who do you want to be your CBO provider? That is not part of the process that the commissioner described. So at the stage of ranking, you have to say, I don't have a conflict of interest here. My husband doesn't run one of these organizations. My daughter doesn't work at one of these organizations. You may not have a conflict,
Right.
and you are required, therefore, to be the voice for your school. So when you say non-disclosure, like that was the rule, as the commissioner said, that we had to follow. You weren't allowed to go crowdsource an opinion about who the provider should be. You had to follow the procurement rules, just like DYCD is required to follow the procurement rules. Does that ring true to your experience, Principal, Superintendent?
You could speak.
Understood,
If you would like,
understood.
would you like to make a comment? Would you like to answer?
It's fine.
You don't have to. It's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
I will
Yeah.
say that, and I appreciate Commissioner saying that there was a breakdown in communication. There seems to be a difference of opinion here between the two of you, but given that, you know, that, and I'm not a principal anymore, but I always try to think like one. But given that the loss of the current program was on the line, there was clearly something that was not communicated well and people didn't understand. And I don't know, honestly, if I was in their shoes right now, what I would do, because the after-school programs are an extension of the school program. And I do wish that we could work out some kind of transition. I don't think that the transition that is currently in place is sufficient, but I do wish that we could work out some kind of transition that would ensure that we had strong programs in the fall.
I would just like to say one other thing, ask about in respect of, I think you mentioned the, having some of the new CBOs like present or to these school communities. I don't know if any of us have had that experience yet, where the incoming program has given a presentation for families, and it should have been done, but it's June 24th, so kind of
Yeah.
that ship has sailed for this year. So somehow I think that should have been built into the process. Especially when it's been a transition after so many years.
Yeah, yeah. I think the feedback that I've been taking away consistently is that we didn't account for when people were not going to be awarded. That's what we didn't account for. The communication about when somebody was not going to be awarded, we did not account for the bridge that was supposed to happen when someone was not going to be awarded. And we are now like accelerating that as much as we can. And that this is why, based on the feedback actually that we got from Manhattan Youth parents and for principals from Manhattan Youth, that we have decided to extend and build our bench to make sure that we're able to do that.
I want to give space to Russ, Gloria, or Rachel if they want to ask any questions. Because you are not. Before we go to you, I just want to make one more statement. The reality is, and Gavin had talked about this, I think, earlier. It's the end of June. You keep saying we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and I take you at good faith. I actually think you are going to try to do this and get this ready and get that ready and get this ready. You have about 77 things to do in each program across many, many programs. And I get that you're hiring your 3 transition people or principals or whatever they are.
They're agencies.
Okay.
And they're already in our queue.
Okay. I understand that and I appreciate that, but they're a small amount of people. How in the world do you actually expect it's humanly possible? And you could be the best at what you do, and I'm sure you're very good at what you do. How do you think this is humanly possible to be ready on day one?
I mean, we're gonna work towards that, like that we're not playing to, we're playing to win here. We're trying to get people to the other side of this. And so are making a lot of investments and we're spending a lot of time to make sure that we get on the other side of that. And we've worked at this scale in prior rollouts. And we have a team that's really gonna be working hard to do that. But there's a level of an exactness and precision that you're asking me that I don't have for you.
No,
Or a level
I
of
understand that.
visibility that I don't have for you. But what I can tell you is that for me, change is, we imagine all the things we're gonna lose, but we don't imagine the things that we're gonna gain. And I do think that there is going to be some real benefits to children, youth, and families as we proceed. And that's what I'm holding on to here.
Right, but you want to engage a lot of people. And by the way, I take you, I believe you. I believe you're going to work your, what's off
Yeah.
to get this, to do the best job you can. I believe that. However, you're saying you're going to engage all these communities. A lot of the communities are going to be gone over the summer.
Yeah.
A lot of parents aren't around. You're asking parents to engage parents at a time when it's the worst time of the year to ask
Yeah.
parents. There's no
Fair.
school happening.
Fair. No, fair. And the experience that we're having, like you're imagining that everybody's experiencing transition the way that you are. That's not the case across the board. And so the resources that we're investing in are for the places where the need is great. And Manhattan Youth is one of those places. But we're not doing that. We're not doing this at scale in New York City. We're doing it for targeted communities where there has been an unintended impact that has been really devastating to communities. That's where we're making all our investments right now.
I can tell you, then I want to let Allison go. I can tell you, I've watched CEC3. I've watched you there was one Friday night. I don't remember who that was, but I don't see anybody who's any different than anybody who's having a different reaction, any community in the city who's having a different reaction than we are. I think every community, it's not Target, every community that's had this change seems to be having the same exact reaction. I've spoken to CEC presidents in Queens, in Brooklyn, in Manhattan. They all, and we have one from our neighboring at CEC4. We all seem to we all have the same reaction. So I want to let Allison. Yeah.
I'm disappointed by your answers tonight. I think it was a lot of happy talk. I think it was talking about talking. I think it was a lot of buzzwords and idiomatic expressions, but I don't think it was anything concrete in terms of how we're going to serve not only the 600 students at Lab next fall, but all the students who are being affected by this. I'm very disappointed to hear that you don't seem open to reversing any of these to have Manhattan Youth back in the schools in District 2, from which they were removed. But I would like to ask a specific question. If a provider who is assigned a school withdraws from the process and says, we can't handle what's being asked of us, what is the mechanism to reaward that to a different provider?
We have a process. We go to the next provider in line. So if a school, and there have been schools that have given back their contracts.
And would the school know who the next
CBO,
provider in
CBO.
line is?
Will the school know? The provider would. So Manhattan Youth would know who the next provider is.
So they would know, for example, if the Y couldn't or backed out of the contract at Lab, they would know whether or not they were next in line for that contract.
They would be informed if they're next in line in that contract.
After the original was not
Yeah.
was taken away, so
Yeah.
to speak, right? So they don't know now. Like if he's second place and I was first place, he doesn't know that he's second place.
So they do know the ranking. They do know the ranking. So for example, Manhattan Youth knows where they ranked in all of the proposals, as do every single CBO. So when I come for the briefing and I can say, hey, listen, you are number 5 in 5th of 5 proposals, or you might be number 2 in 5. So you would know where you ranked, but you don't know the name of the provider.
And is that public?
That is only for Manhattan Youth. That's during the debriefing. Manhattan Youth, that is public to Manhattan Youth.
In other words, is it public information, the ranking? Sorry, I know.
No, it's not public
And is
information.
that-
It's given at the provider level.
Okay, and is that something, and we can try it, is that foilable? I know you may not, it may not be
Yeah,
public to you, but is that
I
something that
believe
we can
everything is
foil?
foilable, right? Yeah, I believe everything's foilable, but Manhattan Youth has access to that, so they can share that. They have a chart that we have given them where their ranking was for each school, what their score was. They have every single detail of it. And we've gone over it today and last week with them, so they can provide that information directly.
Go ahead.
So a question. So this has like put the fear of God in the schools that manage somehow to hold on to Manhattan youth. And mentioning Clinton, they were experiencing massive cuts to their programming already before this year, right? I mean, half of the amount of kids could be on the sports teams, the walk-on sports teams, which are really important to, you know, a community that has 22% kids with disabilities. So the offerings were already short, you know, they got cut. Sorry. But now I totally forgot what I was gonna say, so
You were talking about,
I just lost my train of
about
thought.
the
Oh,
reductions
okay,
in money.
so there have been emails going around. Sorry, I can't hear myself. Sorry. It's okay. I get distracted so easily. There have been emails going around from Manhattan youth providers, from the coordinator or whoever it is, pleading with families to make sure that when they sign up for after school and they sign up for they get their schedule, that they go. And that attendance is a huge part of the procurement process. This was shared with us. How many absences, how many days did kids not attend? That was part of the criterion that you looked at with Manhattan youth, their track record with student attendance, right? And if you're looking at something like attendance or missing one class after school day, like that kind of absenteeism isn't necessarily a Manhattan youth problem. That's a school culture problem. That's a District 2 problem. That's a New York City public schools problem with chronic absenteeism. So I just wanted to be clear about that. Like, was that a determining factor? So this person's lying. So attendance was not any part of this at all.
Prior attendance?
Yeah, so
No,
like looking at
not in the
students'
way that you're
enrollment.
describing at all, but if a proposer, what was rated was what went into the proposal, and a proposer would talk about their success in engaging young people and outreach. It wouldn't include a look back at specific data. Some proposers weren't already DYCD funded providers.
So Manhattan youth, you didn't look at like who signed up, who registered, and how many people attended. So it
We-
wasn't like you were looking at attendance.
we look at that every day for our contract monitoring, and Manhattan Youth is still the after-school provider.
Okay.
But that wasn't, as you said, part
A
of the
determining
procurement process.
factor?
It wasn't part of the procurement process.
But was it a factor in?
It's a factor in, yeah,
No,
no.
it was not part of the selection.
Okay, thanks.
I think we have about a few more minutes because we do have other items and we have a lot of people that want to speak. Are there any other questions or comments that people have? Go ahead, please go.
Want to bring up something that's been going off in the chat. So what happens at the next time? You know, are we going to be dealing with this? You know, let's say, for instance, the YMCA builds up their program and makes it really solid, probably too late, sadly, for my middle schooler, but maybe for my one who's 4 years younger, and it's an amazing program. Is this happening again?
No.
I mean, in 6 years, are they doing a new procurement process and ripping it out? Because, you know, I think, and Kelly made this point, like they're part of the school.
Yeah.
They're not separate entities. They are, but they're not. They're part of the school. So what happens? Is this going to happen again? Do we just restart from the beginning again? We tear down the house and rebuild it every 6 years?
Yeah. I think we've learned a lot from this procurement, and generally programs get procured every 3 to 5 years. This one took 10 years because there was not city funding to actually raise the base. And there also wasn't, and you needed to raise the base, but you also needed to invest in a new model. So we shifted the model. one of the things that I'm doing under my leadership, because I understand that this is an uneven stability for the ecosystem, is I'm trying to figure out how in the following RFPs that we have, because we don't just procure after school, we have cornerstones, we have beacons, we have runaway homeless youth programs, is how do we stabilize the field first and figure out raising the base without having to re-RFP it in this moment, and then having a larger procurement that is dictated by community needs and community needs assessment, and then figuring out what is the next strategy rather than programs that then could open up the aperture for what could be done in a region. So my vision is not to keep procuring every few years just to get new contracts, but to think about how do we raise the base, stabilize the field, and then come together and do some needs assessments locally and figure out what parents and children, youth and families want before we go into the next RFP process.
Yeah, because I mean, we've discussed the part of the reason Manhattan Youth is so wonderful is because they've been on the ground
Yes.
working and developing the program with the principal. So if we're doing this every 3 years, like
Yeah.
after school's done, it's toast. No one's going to send their kids if every 3 years they have to go through this process again and figure out sports. And then at that point, truly, that's a public school issue, big time, because sports, after school programs, these are why people want to stay in our schools.
Yeah. Mhm. Also, I mean, a lot has changed. You know, one of the things that we've been thinking a lot has changed since after school came to pass. There wasn't the middle school choice that there is now. There wasn't necessarily kids were going to their local schools, and now kids are going to different regions based on what they find attractive in a school, right? So some of the decisions of the past, we need to be thinking about what is going to hold true for the future, right? This was the best thinking for what happened over the last 10 years. We've learned a lot. We're going to inform the best thinking moving forward as well.
I will just say, and I appreciate you coming here, and I know it's not easy and you're taking a lot of challenging questions. The procurement process is the procurement process, and I get it's the law. I'm going to be blunt, it sucks for our kids.
Yeah.
It's absolutely awful for our kids. And what I would have liked to hear is that you, as the commissioner of a department that oversees this, is now advocating to change the procurement rules specifically for these types of decisions. Because if we go through this next time, which hopefully will not be in 3 years, but okay, if we have to go through this next time, we're going to be having these same conversations. I'm going to be sitting here and you're going to be sitting here, and we're going to have another unpleasant conversation because it's going to it's going to not take into parent reactions, students' reactions. We're going to be in the same place.
Yeah.
So I would have liked to hear you say, listen, these rules are awful for our kids. And right now I am talking to Mayor Mamdani and the city council every day. So this never, ever happens
Yeah.
again.
But the absence of my saying that is not an assumption that I don't believe that. So let's be very clear
I understand
that I am
that.
actively, no, I really want to say this, that I am actively pursuing what is best for children, youth, and families. But from where I sit and where I am standing right now, I have to honor the process that is in place while simultaneously actively looking and interrogating based on the feedback that I got from everybody. And you know this, Craig. I have met with every single person who's wanted to meet with me.
You have.
And I've been a provider. I'm a parent for
You have.
30 years. And so if you think that this is landing on deaf ears, then we haven't really met each other.
Yeah, no.
Because I take this seriously. And again, there are a lot of things that I am not allowed to say in a public setting because of my role, but I take it very seriously that I am leading an organization that does one of the most procurement, and I want to do that responsibly, and I will.
But I hope you can understand from our perspective, you are, as you said, you're a parent and you were also a provider for many years.
Yes.
If you were sitting
I would be
here
right at the table with
and not
you all.
there,
I would
you
be
would
right
have
at-
the same,
Listen,
all
I would be
four of
right
you
at
would
the
have the same
table.
reaction.
I would be right at the table.
Right.
I'm saying there is a paradox here that I am grappling with, but I also want to be clear that I don't want people to make assumptions based on what I'm allowed to say publicly and what I'm doing privately.
Right.
Because I can tell you that Manhattan Youth knows that I have been advocating for certain things to shift for them, and where I can make concession, I am and I will. But what I won't do is to be asked to resign. What I won't do to have my integrity questioned, because I am a woman who has spent 30 years building the field, and you can question anything, but I'm saying to you clearly that I have honored the space. I am listening to families, and where I can make legal changes, I will do it.
Right.
I will do it.
And I want to be clear because I do know to your point for a fact that you and your staff have met with an inordinate amount of groups, people. So that is, for the folks at home, that is 100% a true statement. You have made yourself and your team available. You've been to many, many CECs. You've met with just parents. You've met with the superintendents. So that is, I will give you, I do want to actually acknowledge that.
appreciate that.
So that is true. What I think a lot of people feel and their frustration is, you may disagree, it's fallen on deaf ears. And I understand you may disagree, but I'm just speaking as
Yeah.
someone who speaks to parents
Yeah.
every single
No,
day, and
I
we all
would feel
do.
the same way. I would feel the same way. And I'm trying to hold this paradox, because a paradox means that there's two truths.
Right.
The opposite of this is not a falsehood. It's another truth. And it is true that there was some of this procurement that worked for families. And it was also true that there was the unintended impact where it did not work for families. And I'm trying to reconcile that in my current leadership. And I'm trying to reconcile that in the future of DYCD and to support children, youth, and families.
Right. And I will say one more comment, and then I think we need to move on. There's sort of two paths here that I think all of us internalizing is number one, trying to make sure that in the fall, no matter what decisions are made, our kids are taken care of. Right?
Yes.
That's number one. However, there's the alternate path that many parents are taking, and I think you know this, that are still fighting this. And
Yeah.
they will be doing that, and you will be getting many more emails and many more parent conversations, because for many parents, I'm going to be blunt, I don't think this is over.
Yeah. And no, listen, if I was standing in the seats where you are now, I would advocate until I was
Right.
done advocating. And I don't think it's the end. I think might be the beginning for some. I think there's going to be continued conversation, and I'm going to continue to hold this space. That is my role and my responsibility. So I when people email me directly, I respond. I speak to individuals. I speak to groups. I will continue to show up. And I'm also learning from this process.
Sure.
And I have been able to make changes where I can, and I will where I can
Right.
within the guidelines.
No, listen, you're not the mayor.
Exactly.
And you're not the city council.
Mhm.
I understand that you were working within parameters. I think
Yes.
we all,
Mhm.
to varying degrees, we all acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to protect our kids.
No, I
Making sure
understand
that our
that.
kids
I
are taken
understand
care
that.
of. Whatever their needs are, and every kid has individual needs, we want to make sure that everyone is taken care of.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I
Watching- watching
I
kids.
appreciate the space. I appreciate the candor. Appreciate the challenge. I think it's important to question city government. I think it's important to demand and seek for what's important for your kids. And I'm here, and I'll continue to listen to your pleas, and where I can make changes, I will continue to do so.
And I would encourage you to stay, because we will have a public session. Otherwise, we'll send it to you. But I would like you to,
Yeah,
someone
oh,
or your
yeah.
team to stay, or it doesn't have to be one of you.
No,
to
I can stay.
Because we will have a public session shortly, and I think it would
Yeah.
be good for you to hear
Yeah.
members of the public. Okay, everybody. Good. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So just going back quickly to the agenda, the next item on the agenda was that now that we have,
Do we leave the table?
you can stay.
Oh, okay.
You can stay.
I
I mean, you can stay at the table. You can go to a different table if you want to not sit with
We're
us.
just going to take a bio break really quickly.
We're doing minutes. You can,
Okay.
you
We'll
don't
be
need to,
right
you don't need to hear for the minutes. And do you want to take the mic? Because I don't think they need, I don't think, okay. Okay. And thank you, by the way. I don't know if I actually said it, but thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming tonight.
Of course.
So the minutes have been distributed to council members. Are there any corrections on the minutes? I should put my reading glasses on. Yeah. What happened?
It's a very small thing, but in Roman numeral 6, Trevante Kelly's name is spelled wrong. It should be TRE.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I know we did have questions for her. She was supposed to follow up. I think she was away for a few days because I did check in with her. Trevanda, the enrollment officer. Are there any other corrections? Okay, then that being said, if there are no further corrections, the minutes are approved as corrected. Okay. Now we go to resolution. Where's my agenda? Oh, it's here. It's here. I got it. Thank you. Okay. So we have four resolutions on the, sorry. We have four resolutions on the agenda tonight. We're going to start off with Resolution 300, resolution to ensure fair and reliable transit access for all NYC students. Does anybody want to present? I think it's Cody who's going to present.
So we've been discussing elevating student voices and ways we can bring issues that matter most to them up for discussion in this council. And I know this council passed a resolution last term calling for the expansion of Omni cards to all New York City public school students. But this current resolution, Resolution 300, is in direct response to a student youth-led campaign initiative by the Youth Activist Committee of Transportation Alternatives. So I wanted to bring this forth. It's a new one. It's more comprehensive resolution in support of the hard work and dedication of these youth activists. Under the current program, students who qualify for Omni are still limited to only 4 rides a day, and they may face difficulties with card deactivation or reliability getting a new one. This resolution is asking for universal access for all NYPS students, regardless of where they live, unlimited rides so they can make after school and social activities a possibility for everyone, fair communication around deactivations, and a faster, more reliable replacement process. We all know the new cards are prone to damage, and they're really easy to lose because they're that soft paper material. These students have worked hard and done incredible work lobbying CECs and high school presidents' councils to change the Omni card system. So I really want to elevate their voice, and I really hope that we can add CECD2 to the list of allies to help get them closer to the goal of changing the Omni card system.
Thank you. Next one is Resolution 301, the resolution to establish developmentally appropriate screen time limits. Is that Aaron or Tam? Councilmember Reed.
Tech is bad. I'm just kidding. I wrote notes. I'm not feeling super great, you guys. So this is resolution 301, calling for developmentally appropriate screen time limits in New York City public schools. So what this resolution does not call for, just to be clear, is removing technology from classrooms. But what it wants to do is establish a framework that's grounded in evidence and common sense, that digital tools should be used when they demonstrably improve learning outcomes. It calls for limits on non-instructional screen use, protections for developmentally appropriate practice, transparency for families, and meaningful accountability through regular reporting on usage and outcomes. Educators across District 2 have increasingly reported challenges tied to heavy screen reliance, students struggling with sustained attention, difficulty engaging in longer reading and writing tasks, hello, wit and wisdom, and reduced stamina for independent thinking without digital prompts or supports. In some cases, digital platforms fragment learning into short, click-based tasks rather than deeper engagement with ideas. Teachers describe fewer opportunities for discussion, collaboration, and hands-on learning when devices dominate instructional space. The inequities in implementation are also becoming increasingly more apparent. Some students experience carefully balanced instruction that blends digital and non-digital learning, while others are placed in environments where screen-based platforms dominate large portions of the day, raising important questions about fairness, about educational quality, and developmental appropriateness. Other large districts and states are already moving to establish clearer guardrails. For example, districts like Los Angeles Unified and states such as Iowa are implementing or considering limits on student device used during instructional time and non-instructional periods. I think that this reflects, or we all think this reflects, a growing recognition nationwide that technology must remain a tool for learning and not the default structure of the school day. To end, what this resolution does call for is restored balance and the assurance that students are still developing the core capacities that devices can't replace, like focus, critical thinking, independent thinking, creativity, and human connection, while also benefiting from advantages that tech can offer when used thoughtfully and responsibly.
Thank you. Next is Resolution 302, resolution to establish data transparency and student privacy protections. Councilmember Carr.
Okay, so data transparency and student privacy protections are urgent matters, as evidenced by the New York State Comptroller's 2026 audit, which found serious weaknesses in how New York City public schools protect student information. The audit uncovered incomplete safeguards, gaps in oversight, and limited cooperation with state accountability bodies. Additionally, the cybersecurity incident this year involving the Canvas platform made these vulnerabilities impossible to ignore. Our schools now rely on dozens of digital platforms, and every single one of them collects data on children, often without clear, accessible reporting to families. With Resolution 302, we call on the New York State Education Department to conduct a comprehensive audit of all EdTech platforms used in our public schools. We are also calling on New York City Public Schools to develop and implement a system-wide data privacy policy that minimizes data collection, ensures transparency with families, and aligns with federal and state law. I urge my fellow council members to vote yes on Resolution 302. Our children's private information deserves protection from exposure, misuse, and commercialization.
Thank you. Next is Resolution 303, resolution calling on the mayor of the city of New York to rally fund expansion. To fully, reading glasses weren't fully on, to fully fund expansion of the Nest, Horizon, and Ames programs in the fiscal year 2027 budget. So I'm going to introduce this one. I would like to take a moment and just to really frame why this resolution matters and why we're bringing it forward now. We've heard the same message time and time again from families, educators, and advocates. Our public school system simply doesn't have enough high-quality autism programs to meet the need, and the numbers make that painfully clear. As the resolution notes, we had 2,070 applications for only 510 Ames seats and 1,410 applicants for only 560 Horizon seats. That means there are thousands of autistic students who want to be in the public schools, are left without an appropriate placement. And at the same time, the programs we do have are working. 2 weeks ago, Deputy Chancellor Foti testified that Nest programs have a 92% attendance rate. Ames programs have an 88% attendance rate, which is really good, with parent satisfaction over 90%. Those are extraordinary outcomes in any part of the system. These are models that keeps kids in their communities, inclusive settings, and supports they need to thrive. And yet, the mayor's executive budget didn't include the funding the DOE requested to expand these programs. It's not just a missed opportunity. It's also a decision that has real consequences. When we don't offer appropriate public placements, families understandably turn to private schools and do what are called due process claims, Carter cases, to some extent. The city has spent $8.6 billion over the past decade on these cases. And as the resolution noted, the cost of a single Carter case tuition reimbursement can exceed over $100,000 per student per year, while serving that same student in Nest, Horizon, or Ames program costs much less. So it's not just an equity issue, although it's absolutely that. It's also a fiscal issue. Expanding these programs is one of the few places where doing the right thing for kids is also the cost-saving thing for the city. What we're asking for tonight is simple. Fund the seats, fund the staffing, fund the training, and give these programs the stability they need so we're not back here in 2 years with the same wait lists and the same families left without good options. The resolution is about building public capacity, reducing long-term costs, and making sure autistic students in New York City get the education they deserve in their own schools, in their own communities. And I'd like to note the resolution focuses on the system as a whole and the immediate ask that the mayor fully fund these programs. And while the resolution is directed at him and at his budget team, we want to keep this resolution immediate but a narrow focus. We have heard from advocates time and time again, and Tam, Councilmember Reed, has said this many times, and I'm sure we'll say this again tonight. We need more seats in District 2. We have places where we can do this. We need these in our district, but we need them across the city. So please, we're asking the mayor to fully fund this. So those are the 4 resolutions for tonight. We would have next the report of the president, but I'm actually going to ask my council members to indulge me a little bit. Since we have the commissioner and the deputy commissioner here tonight, and we have a lot of parents on the speaker sign-in sheet, and I'm assuming a lot of them are going to want to talk about this topic. To be respectful of the commissioner and these deputy commissioners' times, I'd like to propose that we have the public session now. So this way they get to hear as many parents about this topic as possible. He's not here. It's fine. So what do people think? Are people okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we're going to have the public session now. Everybody will get 2 minutes to speak. We're going to start with the folks in the room, and then we're going to go to the people online. No, this is comment. This is public comment. You don't respond. Otherwise, we'll be here till midnight. Okay. So the first speaker, and I'll put the timer up online in a second, is Joe Vitale. Oh, yeah, take more, Harris. It's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Because it's locked down. So just do 2 minutes.
Thank you. I have spoken at these meetings before. My sign says CIS equals can't imitate sex. I'm dedicating my speech today to 13-year-old student Elena Resto, who said no more when it comes to sharing her school locker room with biological males. What this meeting today has shown is that, once again, the Department of Education, the DOE, will not be challenged. They will not allow meaningful resolutions to go anywhere, like Resolution 299 and the SAPIS resolution and forthcoming Resolution 302, all of which I have supported. The DOE wants surveillance of our kids. The DOE wants medicalization of our children. And for the 6th time, I'm going to ask the bureaucrat Superintendent McGuire, the 6th time I'm asking this question, what do you have to say to the biological girls who do not feel safe sharing their locker room and sports with biological males? This meeting has shown that bureaucrats love their regulations. Bureaucrats love their guidelines. Here's what bureaucrats do not love: reality. They do not love transparency. They do love talking so much and so meaninglessly that people lose interest in their answer, and they love to weaponize delay. What I did like seeing today was pushback from some of the members of the council against bureaucracy, pushback coming notably from Cody and Allison. Resolutions that the DOE doesn't feel are in line with the mediocre robots that it seeks to mass produce are either ignored or diluted. Students at this council, I hope you see the smoke and mirrors that's going on.
That's time, Joe.
Okay, my final comment is, do you think it's appropriate for young girls, some of whom have never seen a penis in their entire lives, to be forced to do so in a school locker room?
Thank you. Next is Steph. No. If I do, I apologize.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Steph. I'm an organizer for Aunties and Friends for Liberation. I wanted to take this moment to congratulate Rachel and as well as Ethan, who sadly can't be here, on their graduation. I also graduated from university this past month, and I can't imagine, but I also can imagine the relief and the excitement and the joy that's happening in your life right now as you embark on this new journey and start your life as a young adult. I'm also slightly jealous because I'd much rather be doing university and college all over again than paying my rent and paying my electric bill in this heat. But we over at Aunties and Friends for Liberation wanted to congratulate you guys on this major milestone of graduating high school and also the amazing contributions you've had on this council this year. Your thoughtfulness and maturity are far beyond most of my peers, and I hope that you continue to be engaged, active, and use your voice while in university. If you think New York City public schools are complicated and convoluted, just wait till you go to a private university with a board of trustees and an increasing federal government oversight. We need students like you and Ethan to continue showing up in adult-dominated spaces, and as students advocating for what we know is best, which is our own education. I wanted to give you guys these little awards, and hopefully you can pass this on to Ethan as well to celebrate your contributions and your participation on this council. You know, a little superficial award for your superficial role on this council. Thank you.
Thank you. Ro?
Okay, Rachel and Ethan are graduating, like Steph says, and they have also sat on CEC2 this year. I want to start by congratulating them both, not just for graduating high school, but for doing this work too. It's really important. Showing up here as a student rep is in these meetings are super important. They're necessary and sometimes just long in ways that might be very questioning, including but not limited to why the Zoom sometimes doesn't work again. Anyways, and yet Ethan and Rachel still manage to stay engaged. They speak up. They bring student perspective into rooms anyways. And I just keep thinking about what it means that they've been doing all of that without a vote. They've been in a space where decisions about students are made, but not actually able to help decide those decisions. At Transformative Schools After School, we play a lot of Uno. Yes, this is a non sequitur, but stay with me. Anyways, so we play Uno. And as you know, the real game is not just about playing cards, but it's about like creating your house rules. And oftentimes there's shift in those house rules depending on the group. So for example, maybe are we going to stack? Are we going to skip? Is this going to be a personal attack if I skip you? And really the key is that Uno is played by whoever is actually playing, getting to shape how the game is played. The rules aren't just handed down, they're negotiated by the people at the table. So if something feels unfair, the game shifts. Here, Rachel and Ethan have been dealt a hand, asked to sit at the table, even asked what they think should happen next, but are not allowed to help set the rules of the game they're actively playing in. Student voice shouldn't be reduced to offering suggestions within a system whose rules are decided elsewhere. It should include helping shape those rules directly. So as Ethan and Rachel graduate and move on from this space, I want to really acknowledge what they've contributed to here. I also hope that, you know,
wrap it up.
come next year, the opportunity is for the students who do sit on CEC to get the opportunity to vote as well. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Elena Daniels, co-founder and executive director of Transformative Schools. I think this is my 21st CEC2 meeting in a row. And so it's great to be here. I will say we started coming because my mentor's book was trying to be banned by CEC2, and then fought CEC2 about rescinding Resolution 248, the anti-trans resolution, and built a lovely community. Oops, dropping everything everywhere. Built a lovely community of aunties who showed up, ate cupcakes, and were here. For the last couple of months, my wonderful student and now lead organizer, Steph, has been leading a campaign to try and advocate for the students to be allowed to get to vote. Steph wrote a great resolution that I dropped all over the floor and will pass around. And we asked you all to try and introduce it or introduce something similar, you know, for the students to be able to have a seat at the table. We'd really appreciate if CEC2 could include the students, because as we saw today, you know, students deserve to have a voice. Students need to have a decision about what's happening at their schools, what's happening in their after schools, what's happening in their lives. And so I want to end by celebrating several students in the room. First, I'd like to celebrate Steph. You know, you are fabulous. It's been great to be able to work with you for a year, and I'm really excited to see you mentor to NYU students next year as organizers with the aunties. And would also love to celebrate Rachel and everybody the quick cupcake. So congratulations, congratulations. Oh, sorry, it's out. And cupcakes for everybody. Next.
clear spec? No, okay, so there's one person who's walked away. If she comes back, we'll allow it. Okay, so we're gonna go on the, oh, she left? Okay. What? Okay, I just want to be very clear because I see a resolution on our letterhead that is not a CEC2 resolution. That is, I'm making it very, thank you. Your such time is over. It is on CEC2 letterhead. This is not a CEC2 resolution. CEC2 did not authorize the use of its letterhead. And I want to make perfectly clear what is being passed out is not a CEC2 sanction form. Thank you. Public session is over. Thank you. Is for you is over. Okay. Did you not? Sorry? What's your name again? Oh, you're Amanda. Oh, Amanda. Oh, hi. Yes, sorry. I thought when you texted me, you went. So we do have one more person who signed up. You can go. Amanda, go ahead. I'm sorry. When you texted, I thought you meant that you were. Sorry. Amanda is going to go.
This was right at 2 minutes, so I will try my best. Good afternoon. My name is Amanda Jules, and I'm a parent of a 6th grader at School of the Future. We fall in the cracks between CCHS and CEC2. I've testified regarding the RFP process at other councils, and I met directly with DYCD prior. Today, I want to focus on the value of after-school programs and what we lose when we shift focus to business outcomes rather than the primary benefactors of these programs, our children. Staff value. Manhattan Youth currently employs 18 activity specialists and group leaders, many tenured up to 10 years at our school. At rates, if hired today by Manhattan Youth versus under YMCA, there is a $91,000 disparity, a pay cut absorbed by workers. I want to be transparent. I used Manhattan Youth's lowest pay rate and YMCA's highest published. And to refresh the collective memory, contract rates were increased in part to provide better wages. And as the commissioner stated at our meeting, to pay people what they are worth. DYCD's own vision speaks of investing in the talents and assets of communities to help them develop, grow, and thrive. These staff are the talent. School value. Manhattan Youth provides support beyond contracted hours, staffing care on half days throughout the year, covering grade level teacher and service days, and providing full day programming, tomorrow actually, so every teacher can attend student graduation. That partnership cannot be line itemed in a contract, but its loss will be felt immediately by our community. And third, student value. This year, 158 of 292 enrolled students participated in at least one of our 21 competitive sports teams. The YMCA actively backpedaled at the meeting with the lab versus what they told us on providing this due to fear of corporate pushback. DYCD's mission is to provide opportunities for New Yorkers to flourish, displacing a program that 54% of students actively engaged in is not flourishing. We already have parents who have said they will need to seek out a different school for their younger child. Finally, Commissioner Sandra, as an appointee of the Mamdani administration, I implore you, in his words, to govern expansively and audaciously. While this program was created under the prior administration, it's being implemented by this one. If there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about, I ask you to find a way to make each of these contested contracts reflect the shared values of the Shining City. One sentence. What is the good of collectivism if we fail to address the needs of our future point guards, civic servants, and champions? We need you to show the government is not too busy, not too self-important, and not too mired in paper to fix the problems of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a lot of public speakers. We have to be out of the room by a certain time, so we really do need to hold it up at 2 minutes. Okay, so there are a bunch of people who signed up online as students, and we prioritize students. I don't know if they're the parents or the actual students, so we're going to start off with Ethan Zhang, and I'm going to ask my other council members to look for the people. This way, I can't do too many. Ethan Ethan Zhang, is there in the chat?
You can raise your hand too if we call your name and you don't see it.
No? Okay. Aparna Rao. And if you're, we can unmute you, but if you're not a student, we're going to put you back in the queue. No? Okay. You want to unmute them?
I'm here. I'm speaking on behalf of my 2 public school students, but I'm happy to wait.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, the next one is Carla Gorniak. Is that a parent? Okay.
Hi, I'm here. I'm also speaking on behalf of my student.
Okay, we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Irina Karakin. KUR.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Veronica. I'm a future student at Lab. I'm mostly going to be talking about the debate team, and the experiences and how it helps us in the future. The debate team has been really important to me and my experience. I've been doing it since 3rd grade, and I've really loved it there. Debate's a really important thing, and it's going to help you in multiple jobs. And it's always a good thing to be able to argue, articulate, like nicely and in a way that will persuade people. Debate can also help you. Like when I was just started, I had a very unclear voice. I talked way too fast. Now it's easier for people to understand me, and that's brought a lot of joy in my life with debate too. I also would love. It's really fun to do it competitively. Just seeing how you are with kids, that's a really fun experience. And I'd hate for that to all to go away. I want to be a lawyer when I grow up, and when I'm a lawyer, I hope to be doing crime and all that stuff. But back to what I was talking about. I don't want to get off topic. I hope it doesn't go away. I've learned a lot of not just like how to argue and debate. I've learned words. Like one of the words I've learned is abolish, which might not seem like a complicated word to you guys because you're adults. But I remember what is this word? It also teaches you how to research and a bunch of other helpful things in life. And I think debate was very helpful for me. It crafts a part of who you are. And I've made a lot of friends who I'm still friends with right now. Oh, and a big portion of my school is all in debate and stuff like this. We all really love these extracurriculars, and it'd be really sad if they all went away. We all spend our time doing them. We truly care about them, and we just hate for them to go away. It'd be really sad for all of us. Debates taught me a number of very important things. And
Thank you.
okay. Thank you for having me here. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking out. We really do appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, the next student is Veronica Gorianov, G-O-U-R.
I think that was Veronica.
That wasn't that Irina?
I think Irina was the mom.
Okay, okay. And then that's the parent. Okay, so now we're going to go back to parents. The first speaker is Emma Wasserman. Okay. Lisa Marks. She was on.
She's there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thanks, Lisa. Go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm a parent at Lab Middle, and I will have 2 students at Lab next year. Both of my students, one has been participating in Manhattan Youth After School, and the other one is an incoming 6th grader, and she is very much looking forward to trying some new activities that she otherwise would never get the opportunity to try, such as fencing. She wants to develop her abilities with the softball team. These are sports and experiences that are really important to kids who are just trying to figure out their identities, their places in the world. My son has really flourished with the newspaper club, JV soccer, cooking club, which he's learned so many great recipes. These are life skills and really truly valuable, important programs that cannot just be wiped away and reinstated with the click of a button by a provider that has no experience, such as the Y, which has outlined a model that is essentially just babysitting, where kids are stuck in a room just doing homework. Kids, these are 11, 12, 13-year-olds. They need dynamic programming. They need providers that know how to respond to the supports that they need, because Lab Middle also has an ASD Nest program for students that are twice exceptional and have special needs that the Manhattan Youth staff have had training on. So we really would like to see that Manhattan Youth be kept, because they do know our students very well, and these students need consistency. They need access to the programs that they love, which we just heard from an incoming student. And we just
Please
want
wrap it up,
the
Lisa.
best for all the students. So thank you, DCYD, for being here, and please try to work with Lab Middle to provide, and all the schools to provide these programs in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jamie Perganos. And again, if I mispronounce anybody's name, I apologize.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry, there's some sort of background noise.
We can hear you.
Okay, because I'm getting distracted. My name is Jamie Parganos. I'm speaking tonight as the mother of an autistic child, and also as someone who worked in after school, started the program at Ella Baker, and started the program at Lab Middle School. My son is supposed to be attending Wagner next year. I left this industry because I saw too many times that politics came before children. I have a friend who worked for DYCD and managed the Manhattan Youth portfolio, and she left with the same feeling. Adults in power too often make decisions about contracts and politics, while children is treated as the thing that everyone talks about after the decision is made. But this time it is my child. I spent over a year planning my son's transition to Wagner, communicating with the program director, who I personally trained, because I know what happens when a program is not the right fit. In the past, I've had to take medical leave from work, transfer my son out of his school, and deal with serious consequences when programs could not meet his needs. I also have professional experience with NYJTL. Based on that, I do not have confidence placing my autistic child in a program they operate. I'm seriously considering whether I have to transfer him from Wagner, even though I chose Wagner because of the existing after-school ecosystem and spent over a year preparing him for it. We're being told there will be an inclusion coordinator. I hope that person's excellent, but a title is not a transition plan. Who is this person? What autism training do they have? How will accommodations work? How will staff be trained? How will continuity be protected? We are here to protect children, not a procurement process, not contracts, not politics. Children. I've dedicated my entire life to this, and the irony is I haven't been able to work because my son can't get the adequate after school that he needs. And
Jamie,
this isn't
please wrap it up.
Okay, this isn't about a provider. I've asked for Manhattan Youth to be removed when they weren't serving the population. However, I never in a million years would have imagined that you were going to take out Marilyn from Wagner, who's worked there for 8 years and has done an excellent job. Manhattan Youth is particularly skilled at serving twice exceptional students. That's gifted students
Thank
with
you, Jamie. That's
disabilities. Thank
time.
you.
Thank you. I know we put it in the chat. The next speaker would be Serena, but we actually did have one more student who did want to speak, Elena. She can, yeah, it just, you can.
Can you hear me?
I think you should be able to go, Elena, or Denise.
Can you hear me?
Can you speak?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
It's very muted. It sounds a little bit muffled. Maybe, I don't know if you need to get closer to the mic or.
Is that better?
Are you there? Oh,
Okay.
okay.
That's fine. It's on there, right? I don't want to break it. We went through that. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, she said fixing her audio.
Okay. Do you want us to come back to you? Do you want a second? We can come back to you. What?
She said yes, please.
Okay, we'll come back to you. We'll go to Serena Antonowitz. Serena? No? Okay. Michael Kimmel?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. I'm a parent at MS 177, and to be frank, this is a farce. You've done nothing to assuage anyone in this meeting that the process was above board. So I have 3 questions that I would love someone from the DYCD to answer. Number 1, where does the money come from that funds these programs? Number 2, who is the biggest beneficiary for these programs you were deciding on without their input? And number 3, who are you at the DYC accountable to? I'll make it easy for you. The answer to all 3 questions is us, the families. It is our money, our children at stake, and you and the city government that are accountable to the people. As your website says, all New Yorkers. We are demanding you restore the contracts of Manhattan Youth. Every moment that you delay or defend your horrible mistake, you violate the charter of the city of New York, which states that all New Yorkers are guaranteed to have the access and opportunity to participate meaningfully in government decision-making. Where was our access? Where was our opportunity to participate? Stop hiding behind procurement. You said that you'd be on our side if the tables were on our side of the table if things were different. If you believe that, then you should give us what we all know is warranted, your resignation. Restore Manhattan Youth. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Larry Carbone.
Or
Oh, is she ready?
I think so.
Okay, we'll go back. We're going to go to the student. Can you, Denise Cruz, yes. Larry, we're going to get back to you in a second. Okay, well, let's after that. Is the young.
Can you hear us?
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. That's much better.
Yay. Sorry about that. Hold on. All right, here is Elena.
My name is Elena Gonzalez, and I attend Yorkville East Middle School. Before middle school, I was not interested in sports. I didn't even watch sports on TV. Now I'm also yelling at the TV when the Knicks won. When I started basketball in middle school, I decided to join cross country and the girls' JV basketball. I was looking forward to trying out for varsity next year or by 8th grade. But if you take away Manhattan Youth, and I and my teammates will lose that opportunity. I want to keep these opportunities because the friendships I have made with students and the coaches. Manhattan Youth has amazing coaches like Kayla, Anthony, Eric, and Miss Road. You are uprooting my middle school and the middle school experience of so many kids. The worst part is nobody asks us how we would feel. It's like we don't even matter. That's why we demand Manhattan Youth to stay at Yems. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're not really, we don't really read statements. Yeah, he ceded his time and yeah, go ahead, it's fine.
This is from Larry Carbone. I cede my time with the following statement. I ask the DYCD to work on prioritizing the continuity of existing programs, even if the providers have changed.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Felicia Onate, O-N-A-T-E. And I put in the chat the next few speakers. Thanks, Larry. Is she on? Felicia? No, Felicia. Okay. Susanna Ekblad? No. Sorry.
Oh, Jorge.
Okay, Jorge Cordova is next then. Is he on?
I asked, but
Okay, we'll come back to him. Ethan Zhang? No. Okay. Aparna Rao?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
If I mispronounce your name, I apologize.
That's okay. It's Upper Narao. Can you hear me?
Why are you screaming? I know.
We can hear you.
Can you?
You can speak
Okay.
loud, but general.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Better, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. I am a District 2 parent with 2 children who attend public school and have IEPs. One just graduated from Lab Middle School today, and my younger one will be attending in the fall. And our family has the special education horror story that people hope never to experience. We came from a public elementary school that refused to implement my son's IEP, and I had to sue the DOE for basic services. So when we came to Lab for middle school, we were hopeful for the best, but weren't sure what to expect. However, once our child participated in after school with Manhattan Youth, it changed his entire middle school experience. The level of knowledge from their staff, years of consistency and institutional knowledge, the trust they've built with the students and administration made an enormous impact on my child and alleviated tremendous stress on our family. My son's personal passion is basketball. The life skills he's gotten from this team sport has literally changed his life. This is a child that previously had coordination issues and needed adaptive PE. And at Lab and, Manhattan Youth, they understood him and they were able to work with him through all of his needs. And my younger child, who also has an IEP, will be attending Lab in the fall, as I mentioned. And we know that Manhattan Youth would be incredible for her. They would get her. However, the information we've received on the incoming YMCA program, which was decided with absolutely no transparency or parent community input, is entirely ill-equipped to provide the level of programming or support for this particular age group, students with disabilities, students who rely on competitive sports programming, or those who just want to participate in theater, cooking, or just D&D. These are our tax dollars, and I cannot adequately express my fury. This was a set of egregious decisions made with complete disregard to the students and families you're impacting. And I don't walk away from this meeting with the impression that the commissioner is following the law. I walk away with the impression that decisions were made purposely in the dark and that you're covering up something. You've said nothing tonight that gives me confidence that you're going to work on behalf of the 1.1 million public school students in this city. And I'm just furious and overwhelmed and just so disappointed at this just complete disregard for our community and our administration.
Please wrap it up, Aparna.
I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we want to try Jorge again? Okay. Carla Gorniak?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I am a parent from Lab Middle School as well, and we're concerned because we had bad experiences with the ability of YMCA to handle neurodiverse students in elementary school. And so I request that you please communicate to each school community how the new providers have been trained to work with these students by September, so that families like mine can make an informed decision about whether our students will or will not be able to participate in after school next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Max Nikolai. Max on.
I don't see it.
Okay. Okay. I don't see David Salzberg on.
No.
Okay. Mary Shea. I see her.
Yep, I'm here.
Great. Welcome.
Hi, how are you? Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner, we've chatted several times over the past few weeks, but today, my 12-year-old has decided it's time for him to talk.
Hello, I'm Colin Shea, and I'm in the 7th grade at Yorkville East Middle School. And I think it's absurd that you are taking away the after-school programs. I've had so many mentors through the program, like my coach Anthony, my coach Kay. Also, the level that they are at is insane. Coach Anthony taught me how to shoot a basketball. Coach Gabe, I had a terrible tackle in a soccer game, and he immediately tried to get my parents' phone number. I think it's just insane. I think you guys are thieves, that you are taking away my mentors. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
you. Okay, so we're gonna just check because we're gonna see if anybody who was not on before is on now. Emma Wasserman, give you one more chance. Emma on?
No.
Serena? Still not on? Felicia?
No.
Susanna, SUS?
No.
Okay, Jorge?
Jorge's still there.
We'll try one more time.
Jorge, are you there?
Okay. Ethan Zhang?
No.
Max? And then David, which I don't think either of them are on. Okay. So that concludes the public session. Thank you to all of the members of the community for your participation tonight. We do appreciate your commentary and you spending the time speaking to us and giving us your comments.
Yes.
I do. I just don't have it with me, but I do have it.
It's in our minutes.
Yeah, it's probably in the minutes. I don't know. It has how many people spoke, but not necessarily about. Most people spoke about this one issue.
Yeah, I want to reiterate before you leave that last month we had an outpouring of students, and it was actually, I think, the most moving thing I've seen this year on the CEC, just to see how many kids came and spoke. We had 24 members of the public testify during the public speaking session, and a lot of them were children. And I know a lot of them aren't here tonight, but I want you to know that their voices were represented and they were, and understandably extremely upset. But I just wanted to point that out before we move on from this.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I can email you the recording and the transcript if you want.
There were 11 students here who spoke.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, you're welcome to stay, of course, but yeah, I don't. Not relating to you, but you're welcome to stay if you're interested. But thank you very much for coming tonight. We do appreciate it. Thank you both for your time, and please get home safely. Okay. I'm going to do one more audible. Superintendent McGuire, do you want to go before me? Because I think you had something tonight that you had to go be at. Do you want to go first? It's okay? Oh. Okay. Okay. Well, I tried. I offered. Okay. I care. Okay, let me just go to my president's report, which is missing. Oh, here's my report. Oh, here we go. So good evening, everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I'm going to try to make it quick as I usually try to do. I hope everybody had a good June, lots of things to celebrate. Pride, Juneteenth, Immigrant Heritage Month, Caribbean Heritage, American Heritage Month, and of course, the New York Knicks. By the way, I'm not a basketball fan, so I'm glad they won, but I'm waiting for the Jets to win. Okay, the Super Bowl. And I'll be waiting for probably another 30 years. A few quick notes. I just want to remind anyone 18 or younger can receive free summer meals, breakfast and lunch at select New York City schools, parks, and libraries from June 29th to September 4th, so we don't forget about our youth during the summer. You can find the location at on.nyc.gov/summer meals, or you can email us and we'll connect you. 2K applications are due by Friday at myschool.nyc. The reminder, I feel like my parent coordinator, because I always do this reminder. A reminder for families to activate their NYC Kids Rise account. Starting in kindergarten, every NYCPS student gets their own NYC scholarship account as part of the Kids Rise Save program for college. You can ask your parent coordinator for assistance if you need it. This is the last meeting of our first year on this term. I just want to say personally, I think we've done some very good work on this council, from setting up the hybrid structure to passing some very important resolutions, including potentially 4 this evening. I do want to take a moment to thank my fellow council members, all of you, for all of your hard work and efforts over the past 12 months. It has been a pleasure to work with each of you. We don't always agree, but I think there's a lot of respect here. I also want to thank Superintendent McGuire, Deputy Superintendent Shannon, who could not be here tonight, and their team for a very fruitful partnership. One last thing, melancholy to discuss, is that as we know, it is the last meeting of their term for Rachel and Ethan. We know that they will be eventually, when they get older and they have their own children, they will run for CEC positions as well, so they'll be back. I will probably be in Boca. It has been such a joy to have both of you on the council. You've been so thoughtful, so insightful, consistently bringing a fresh, meaningful perspective to our discussions. You carry yourself with a level of maturity that's rare, and you never hesitate to speak up, and we have so much respect. You're always offering an honest opinion, asking tough questions that really move our conversations forward. I think I speak for the entire council, and if anybody would like to add to the praises, when I say we've been thrilled to work with both Rachel and Ethan. We have no doubt that both of you are going to do wonderful things in college, and we're genuinely going to miss you both. And with that, we do have a little something for you. You can be my banner. Does anybody, do you want to say something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Want to say anything? You don't have to be. Okay. Okay. That's fine. But we'll please keep in touch. We want to hear from you. We want to hear how you're doing at your school and in your career. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our superintendent, Kelly McGuire. Do you want to give him? Yeah.
I love him.
I need permission to unmute, or do I not do that? Yeah, or do I not?
No.
I don't unmute. Okay, got it. Thanks so much, everybody, for having me tonight. And I appreciate the time that you took with the Commissioner of DYCD and Assistant Commissioner. I thought that was a really important space to hold at this time. So I've got a few things that I want to share, a bunch of different celebrations as we're hitting here the end of the year. A few people have mentioned the Knicks celebration, and being here in Lower Manhattan, we were front and center for a lot of that work in relationship to the parade, including our pre-K center downstairs. It was really fantastic. Both the borough president and Carl Anthony Towns signed the District 2 Pre-K Center sign that's affiliated here with the Tweed Center. We also have a bunch of schools that took the opportunity to share the parade with their students. We had a really fantastic celebration for Ronnie Nager, who is retiring from PS 89. 42 years that she spent in New York City Public Schools was just really fantastic. And then also just a bunch of trips and different activities that we've had here in District 2. So we're ending on a very, very busy note, I would say, but also lots of celebration. I did want to just note that one of the students here featured, she's 28 years old, but she attended my school when I was principal, and it was just, and she had also attended PS 89, and just really fantastic to see how she's grown. I want to share a few things just in regards to current data is in relationship to our district. Our district attendance rate has improved by a point from last year, which is really great. And on this slide, you also see the drop in different safety incidents, both high level. We've talked about this at different points throughout the year, but we're continuing to see that trend here in District 2, a reduction in the number of suspensions and high level incidences. We also are announcing that we are expanding the geometry program that was initiated at Lab Middle last year. And we are expanding from 1 to 3 classes across District 2. Eastside Middle School, Wagner, Yorkville East, MS 131, Battery Park City, and Lab will all be participating. These are courses that are going to take place in the morning at the 0 period before school starts, around 7:45 for students. The classes are being provided by a department here within New York City Public Schools centered on virtual learning. That department has a principal and a bunch of teachers that are trained and certified in the different courses that are being taught. Each school is following similar criteria to select students for this program, but all of our principals that are participating, they collaborated with the lab leadership to really get their ideas about how it is that they selected students and figure out what it is that helped to make sure that students were successful. And so we're looking at a number around 28 kids per class. So close to 90 kids that will be participating across the district in the coming year. And we're excited for that. I also want to just give a little bit of context and update on our students with disabilities. On the left side here of the page, you see that we're serving about 4,600 students. About 21% of our students do have IEPs. We currently crossed the threshold, or we recently crossed the threshold of providing 95% of all services that are on students' IEPs across the district. We've been hovering around 93% for a while, but we were able to cross into 95 about 6 weeks ago. Those, again, students are primarily served in the general education classroom, but there are also specialized programs and classes that exist here in the district. But we also do have some exciting updates. We have been working really closely with our early childhood office to expand our NEST program into 3K and pre-K. That is an announcement. I should be able to make an official announcement on that in July. We are also expanding the iRead program that currently exists at PS 234. That's been an elementary school program only. This is a specialized ICT program serving students who have dyslexia. And we are expanding that program to middle school, and that program is expanding to middle school at 75 Morton. The teachers, staff, and leadership at 75 Morton are receiving lots of additional training in preparation for that iRead program. The school is receiving an additional allocation to provide coaching and support in the school. And then also, of course, all the different materials that are being provided so that students in this new iRead program will really be supported with strategies, techniques, and materials to support students with dyslexia. That program is starting out as one section per grade level, 6th grade only for next year, and then expanding up through 8th grade over the next 3 years. And we're really looking forward to that as a new structure at 75 Morton. And then the final support that we are implementing here too in District 2 is that we are adding what they call CEIT. This is programmatic support in the form of intervention for children who are in 3K and pre-K. This is really intended to be coaches and teachers that are coming in to work directly with children prior to their entering kindergarten to try to prevent students who from developing strong, greater disability that would impact their learning in kindergarten. So this is a strong intervention program that is funded by the state of New York. There's a different line of funding that comes in to support CET services in those early childhood classrooms. And so we have an addition of that support coming here into District 2. So lots of new work that's happening to support our students with disabilities. Certainly lots more is needed. We're continuing to hear from the community that lots more is needed to support our students with disabilities, but these three additions here in our district are really positive for our students and community. You have heard about our expansion of the NYC Reads initiative, which is coming in the form of our adoption of the Wit and Wisdom curriculum in middle school. So all of our teachers have participated in a course of study that is centered on the science of reading, and then they've also participated in a multi-day curriculum training that is provided by our literacy partner, Great Minds. Over the past year, we've had several schools pilot this new curriculum, and we've offered many, many opportunities for teachers and school leaders to come into classrooms in our pilot schools, observe that curriculum in action, learn from teachers who have had the opportunity to implement it, and also learn about the ways in which they are really working to make sure that it is meeting the needs of the students in their classrooms. This past spring, just last week, we held a share fair that was led by the teachers who were piloting the program across the district. And they were the ones leading the training here and leading the sharing for all of our middle school teachers. And it was fantastic to hear from them. The best information that we're getting around the implementation of this curriculum and the expansion of NYC Reads really is coming from our teachers who have had the chance to use the curriculum. In the coming year, all of our middle school teachers and school leaders are going to have the opportunity there to participate in one-on-one as well as school level coaching around NYC Reads, the literacy shifts, and the implementation of Wit and Wisdom. We are participating right now in the planning of district-wide workshops that are centered on grade levels, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level trainings for our teachers across the district. We're also working to make sure that our teachers and our school leaders have organized their schools in a way that allows them to provide intervention services and structures that might exist outside of the core literacy curriculum. So we want all of our students to participate in core curriculum 100% of the time, but we also recognize that there's a need for intervention services and programs, and so we're developing those structures right now and how it is that each school can implement that with their unique schedules. And then finally, we are developing a series of parent workshops that will be used across the district, first rolling out with school leadership teams, but clearly being made available for all of our schools. School budgets were released, and many folks heard that at the start of the year here, schools are going to be held harmless for any enrollment shortfalls that might be in relationship to projections. However, mid-year, schools may see budget adjustments if their enrollment targets are not met. At the same time, schools are going to have access to appeal level funding if they have an enrollment projection that is beyond that for which they were initially budgeted. And we have seen increases in enrollment in many of our schools across the district, so we are anticipating that we're going to see those appeals going in. Again, these are dollars that are provided to schools that have enrollment that is beyond the initial budget projection that was given to the school. A big announcement was made in regard to how it is that we are seeking to develop class size reduction across the city. Schools with schools and districts with high levels of students who receive free and reduced lunch were prioritized in this funding cycle. Here in District 2, 2 of our schools received class size reduction dollars for a total of 6 teachers. Clearly, there were many, many more schools that had applied for class size reduction. But again, we did not receive that funding in this cycle. And the goal for schools that received class size reduction funding in 2025 is that those schools maintain the degree to which they are implementing class size reduction in the current year. We do think that that might be difficult in some of our schools, even just to maintain the current rate of class size reduction being done in schools because we are seeing an increase in enrollment, but that is the goal. Those dollars are not being taken away. Those dollars are being maintained so that the schools can continue to maintain their teaching staff. But in a school that might be a zoned school, we are committed to providing families who live in a zone with a seat in that school. And it may, in some cases, result in enrolling a number of students that are beyond these new class size reduction numbers. So we're working to maintain that, but again, we're seeing some schools that have increased enrollment. Again, we're finishing this school year about 60% compliance. This is an improvement from the 24-25 school year. And we're starting to work with our school construction authority and our district planning team to think a little bit more about how it is that we might access different strategies for achieving class size reduction. So there is a deeper and more focused effort to review space within buildings to identify ways in which schools may be able to increase the rate of class size reduction, the rate of compliance. We are working to evaluate space without building new without new buildings, looking at different ways of utilizing space within a building or utilizing space in a neighborhood. But we are also beginning to have discussions with the school construction authority about where it is that an additional building or buildings in District 2 might be most beneficial to helping our schools reduce class size to meet the parameters of the law. We have a couple of buildings that have been in our district planning for a while. While those buildings have not yet broken ground, we do have a couple that are on the horizon that have been planned for some time. And we're hoping that the pace of building gets going because we know that we need them in our district in order to comply with class size reduction. This coming year, we're going to continue our school spotlights and community coffees. Those were really popular this year, and we're going to encourage again the CEC to come out and join us. We're going to hold 2 community coffees in the coming year, one on the Upper East Side and one in Chelsea. We are working to make sure that those school spotlights and community coffees are really aligned with school CEP goals and the district goals as well. And just looking ahead, we have a late start to the 26-27 school year, September 10th. We've got the dates here for our fall conferences and a few dates that school is closed in the fall. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a couple, and then I'll pass it along to my fellow council members. So on the CIT, the set reports, when is that evaluated? Because you're talking about bringing them in at 3K. I think you said it pre-K and 3K, or
yeah, these are intervention supports for
right.
kids in
But
3K and pre-K.
Like, is it they're evaluated before they're ever in? Because 3K they're little, they're so little. Like, are you evaluating the summer before? You've never seen them before, so that when is that evaluation happening?
Yeah, it works in conjunction with kids being enrolled in school. The CPSC is an entity that exists within New York City Public Schools, and a part of their work is to conduct evaluations, and to provide recommendations on supports that students may need prior to their entering kindergarten.
Okay. The second question is on the class size. D2 received limited funding. That was like 2 teachers in the whole district or something like that.
6 across the district, yeah.
6 across
Limited,
the district.
yep.
Okay. I don't know if there's much of a
I think
difference.
at an earlier meeting, I think I had shared that, we were looking to hire 300 new teachers in order to really achieve class size. So this is
Right.
obviously a challenge for our schools. It's disappointing, but it is also, we're recognizing what the parameters are this year in funding.
How did we compare to other districts? In other words, did D2 receive nothing in D14? I don't know, whatever. Receive a lot. How are we, or is this across the board for the city, the whole city?
Our district was a district that received some of the fewest numbers of teachers in schools receiving class size reduction funding.
Okay, so we're towards the bottom.
Very much towards the bottom, yeah.
Okay. And then the third question I have was actually not from your presentation. It's a general question. So this is the second, I think first in some schools, second in some schools, year of having the win periods, the what I need period.
Mm.
I think in my school was the first year, but I think in some schools, I remember there was a school spotlight 2 years ago. They had it. How has that turned out in your opinion? What is the feedback you've gotten from parents, from teachers, and what improvements if any, are you planning on making over the next year? Because I hear from parents mixed things. Some love it, some think it's a waste.
Yeah, sure. So the broad category of this is just have schools structured time in their day for intervention or enrichment to serve smaller groups of students. Are there 2, 3, 4 periods in the school week in which this kind of homogeneous grouping is occurring and supports are in place? There are, generally speaking, the feedback has been positive about the win periods. The thing that I think is really important to note is that it is not necessarily the goal of our district to have every single school provide win periods. There are some schools where it makes a lot of sense, and there are some schools where it doesn't make as much sense. We really need to make sure that whatever the need of the students are in the building is that we're creating a model that works in partnership with that. A big piece is that, regardless of whether you have a student who's, working a year above or 3 years below, is that the vast majority of their time is spent in the general education classroom. And so in conjunction with trying to build in intervention programs, we're also working to make sure that our teachers are equipped to be able to meet the needs of students in the what they call like tier 1 or general education classroom for all of the core classes. So the goal really that we're working toward is schools having that model that matches their students and having that in place. There are some schools that have been able to provide structure and support for 100% of their students. There are schools that have just started with a small group and need to work to build more.
Any other questions for the superintendent? Any other? I'm just kidding. You're on video.
It's okay.
How are you getting ahead of that? I would like to see that work continue, and I'm wondering if you're kind of looking at some of those projections. And then I had just a quick follow-up to that when you're done, but thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, sure. To date, I haven't heard of schools needing to cut positions that are specific, that we might like see in that mental health arena. Like there hasn't been any school that has shared with me that they're not going to be able to maintain their guidance counselor or social worker. But we are seeing that schools that may have had teachers coaching or doing small groups, that they are really having to take a hard look at that and figure out how it is that they're going to try to maintain some of those things. And mental health and academic competence are interwoven, right? In regard to like specifically restorative practices, that is actually work that we're continuing to try to expand. And on the district team, we have a small group of folks that are just particularly good at being able to support schools on a reactive basis when it comes to SEL or behavior incidents, climate culture. We have just connected with a central team here that is, we're in the process of training them so that they can do more proactive work. And so that is not yet in place, but it is a big priority of mine. I think it's had a lot to do with the positive data that we've seen. But there's still lots of kids who are having trouble, and and lots of teachers who need training and support. Educators, school leaders need training and support to really prevent that work or those incidences from occurring. So this is one of the ways in which we're trying to access the resources that still exist within New York City Public Schools to equip our team so that they can help support the schools.
Follow up to
Yeah,
that.
for
So
sure.
thank you for that. And also just kind of rolls into that, you were talking about a lot of interventions, and it's great that Mamdani is supporting the littles, the 3K and pre-K, but we're seeing massive investment at that entry point and a massive exodus of funding for everyone else. I'm interested in the literacy initiatives that you spoke of. One of the things that I think could be an antidote to these super overcrowded classrooms in these quote unquote high performing or popular schools in District 2, where students are falling through the cracks, and we know which ones those largely are, right, who aren't getting served in those scenarios. Have you talked to the schools about eligibility for a CFIT, so essentially funded intervention teacher who can do that work, who's certified in that work, and can start growing those programs inside the schools, because that work is outside of everything that they already offer in terms of the tiers, the multiple, all of that. So it's completely different. I don't know if people here, I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with it, but it's a funded position for a reading and writing interventionist. It's funded by Central and not the school, so they can't say our budget doesn't cover that, which is often the pushback that we get. So what is the eligibility, and don't you think that might be a good idea for those schools that just got turned down for money and they have like 38 kids in 9th grade?
Yeah. I will say that I think the city has done like a really great job of protecting that position and defining it. Yeah, it's been around maybe for 8 to 10 years, but I will say that the parameters around the centrally unfunded intervention teacher, special education teacher, sometimes called the IEP teacher, has really been protected so that the work of that individual is intervention for students with disabilities. I have not lost any of those positions. We are talking with our central team about schools where we are really trying to expand and add that position to their table of organization. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that the eligibility per school is quite as black and white, but I do think that it's something that we all would benefit from. Yeah.
Thank you. Next, who else has questions? I thought saw some other hands up. Cody.
Want to say that my second grader's favorite part of the day is win period.
Okay.
He's obsessed with it. So there is all the proof you need.
You know, some weeks my son loves it. Some weeks my son is.
He loves it.
Yeah.
It's his favorite time. The first question is very quick. We had a parent here last month concerned about class size for PS2, 6, 7 and East Side Middle. I assume neither of them received any funding for the,
That's correct.
and we have no idea when they will.
We'll wait for the next budget cycle.
Great. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate for them, but I did want to ask that question because they brought it up last month. The second one is about the shift to wit and wisdom for middle schools. I think, you know, the reviews from the parent body have been mixed and from the students have been mixed. One thing that's really important in middle school is the creative expansion. And I think a lot of parent feedback that I'm getting is people are worried that children aren't reading enough whole books anymore. They're just reading samples. But also that we do have a lot of middle schools that have done such a wonderful job of having like a humanities curriculum or, you know, weaving in social studies and English. And obviously this wit and wisdom and all of these are to sort of even the playing field for everybody. But how can we guarantee that we're not losing the creative spark that some teachers have? And also, again, how can we guarantee that we're providing a love of reading? Because at middle school, that's when, you know, their brains explode, right? They go from learning the mechanics to really becoming critical thinkers. So have you had discussions on that? And I guess that's my question.
Yeah. Several years ago, when we were charged with selecting a curriculum, we would only prioritize curricula that was built around whole class novels, that was built on a whole book. And one of the curricula is Basil Reader with like shorter readings. Wit and Wisdom is built on whole texts, and they read several within the course of a unit. And then there are like smaller supplementary texts that they read alongside that. This curriculum also, you know, in our district, we have always prioritized creativity across all different content areas, and the strong arts component in Wit and Wisdom continues into middle school. There is kids in elementary school are, you know, looking at and analyzing paintings and photographs that have been taken that are famous and to which they can make connections and which really provide some grounding in the upcoming units and lessons that they're going to be learning. So there is a lot of art that is built into the Wit and Wisdom curriculum. That being said, the most important part of all of this is the work that teachers do. And I recognize that if a teacher opened up a book and started reading a lesson plan, that would not meet our expectations. I will say that would not meet our expectations. So some of the work that we started to do this year, I think really leans into how it is that we approach professional learning in District 2. We go right to the source of who is smartest about this work, and we think that's our teachers. And so when we listen to our teachers, we hear them talk about how it is that they are taking a lesson or taking a unit, how it is that they're adding in an additional piece of text or a question that they think is going to be really exciting for kids, the ways in which they're approaching Socratic seminar, which is just, if you've ever watched a group of kindergartners engage in Socratic seminar, it's like the best thing ever because their little brains are going and they can say all kinds of things and make connections to each other. And, you know, that structure continues through 8th grade. And so this is, you know, one of the things that I think is important to say is that this is not a scripted curriculum. There's lots of opportunity for teachers to bring their own creativity and their own ideas about and understanding of how it is that kids learn. ICT offers a whole bunch of unique ways of approaching the curricula. And so, yes, I think any year that you're doing something new can be tough. But we're getting better and better at it. And, you know, we're getting a lot of positive feedback from both students and teachers now that we're going to be heading into our third year of the curriculum next year.
Gavin.
I have a few questions. One is about the slide you showed us that 95% of services on IEPs are being provided. And I was curious to know whether that includes services provided under RSAs, under related service authorizations.
That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I will get the answer to that. Yeah, I will get the answer to that.
That would be helpful because, you know, if you get an RSA, it's basically just a voucher to go outside the school and get the services that can't be provided inside the school. And very often that voucher is not that useful because of the rate that's paid or because of the lack of time outside the school.
Yeah.
This is a question, I think, because you brought up the Office of District Planning and looking at space. Has it ever, has the Washington Irving campus ever come up in those discussions as like a possibility to alleviate some of the space crunch like on the east side? Because I know that the Washington Irving campus, which, you know, currently houses 4 high schools, but has, you know, several hundred, you know, seats that are not filled. It's not at capacity. And it may not be an ideal space for, you know, middle school students or whatever because of the high schools. But I wonder if that has ever been looked at because it's kind of right in sort of in the corridor where we have some schools that are like coming up to, you know, 100% or slightly over 100% utilization.
Yeah. It hasn't. It hasn't been proposed by to me or come up in any discussion around district planning. I do think that there's some factors that are complicated there. There's a charter school in the building. There's, you know, 4 different high schools. There are 3 different superintendents, I think, that work within that building. But it hasn't come up as a possible solution.
You should raise it next time.
Yes, okay, sorry.
Okay, and then last question is you know, this has come up multiple times. You know, they didn't come here tonight, I think, because they kind of felt like they exhausted their sort of remedies at the CEC level, but they came to the PEP this past month, families from the River School. And I know that there's an ongoing investigation there, so there's sort of limited things you can say, but the investigation, I understand, has been going on for, this feels like close to a year. I mean, pretty much the whole entire school year. So I'm wondering, is there any update on the status of that? And also, what are we doing at the district level to kind of intervene in that situation?
Yeah. To my knowledge, there hasn't been any single investigation that has been going on for a year, but certainly over the course of the year, there have been multiple investigations that have been lifted up. You know, we are, when we are tasked with addressing those investigations, we do that immediately. In the meantime, we are trying to provide all of the different supports that we can and that we have available to us at the district level. I know that the PEP comments from this month did initiate or did lead to some additional conversations that we're having here at the central level. Again, we're, you know, out of fear of, you know, talking about something and just saying that I can't really comment on it. I wish that I could, but I fear that talking too much about it might lead to not being able to address the challenges in the way that is needed.
Any other questions? Allison, then we really need to wrap it up because it's.
I'll make these quick. Thank you again for the expansion of the geometry program. I know you were really a big part of making that happen with the principals who are interested. One of the things I saw on the schools that you listed up there is that only 2 of the 4 schools with screen programs were listed as participating for next year, which surprised me considering students choose the screen program because they're already accelerated or have performed well in elementary school. Can you talk specifically about Baruch and Morton Street and about their not participating in the program? And then the other thing on this is that you listed 3 classes and we had talked offline about the potential for a 4th class if there is demand. Can you speak to that too?
Yes, you know, this is still very new, right? And I don't think that we're at a place where providing this class is an expectation. Providing this class is really left up to the school. It's left up to the school level community. And I didn't withhold the information from any school community. I invited everybody to participate, and schools that felt like they could, they did, and other schools are saying that that's something that we're going to look at for the 27-28 school year. So we're working with, you know, who it is that we can. There's a certain level of, you know, resources that are necessary in order to get something like this off the ground. There was another question that you asked.
3 classes versus
3 versus 4. One piece of this is that we are working with, and we had to really push on it, and we did successfully add a 3rd class, but working with the principal of the virtual schools so that she can identify certified teachers, experienced certified teachers who can fulfill this role was a challenge also. So I think that we're going to plan earlier for 27-28 so that she can do more of the recruiting of teachers who might be able to fulfill this role. But we were able to get 3. There's the potential that she can, if she's able to find a 4th teacher, that we would be able to add a 4th class. But I think right now it's going to be 3.
Thanks. I had another question.
Allison, we have to move on. It's already 9:35.
Okay. Next month,
Sure.
we want more middle school admissions data.
Okay.
Thank you. And just one very quick note, it did come, Washington Rivers did come up with some of the Salk parents.
Yes.
So it was discussed. I think because of the many complexities that you mentioned, it really was not they didn't feel it was very attractive because there are a lot of challenges in that building.
That's correct. Yeah.
So that did come up. Okay, so discussion, sorry to cut you off, we have to get out soon.
I won't forget.
That's okay. Discussion of resolutions. So we have 4 resolutions. I will emphasize that we are theoretically supposed to be out in about 15 minutes or so. So when we discuss it, that's fine. I don't want to limit anything, but you know, just keep that in mind. Resolution 300, resolution to ensure fair and reliable transit access for all NYC students. Does anybody want to comment on it? Okay. Oh, hold on. Let me just check back on. Okay. Then resolution 301, resolution to establish developmentally appropriate screen time limits. Does anybody wish to discuss that? I mean, you're allowed to talk. I mean, you're allowed to actually have comments. I didn't say nobody can have comments. Go ahead.
I'll just say that in my opinion on all 4 of these, I think that I would guess that we're probably all in agreement on these. There's nothing, these are all benefit our kids. And so I think that there's no point in me saying anything else on them because I think they're all very common sense.
I concur.
I just, you know, I made the comment. I didn't want anyone to think
In fact,
that.
we have a time schedule to keep.
Was that? I didn't hear what you said. That's true. That's okay. I deserve it. Resolution 302, resolution to establish data transparency and student privacy protections. Any comments? Okay. Resolution 303, resolution calling on the mayor of the city of New York to fully fund expansion of the NEST, Horizon, and AIMS programs in the fiscal year 2027 budget. Go ahead, Gavin.
I just want to say one really quick thing. I fully support this resolution. I appreciate that you brought up the Carter cases. I want to just sort of clarify that for most families, the Carter case route it's just not an option because it requires like a significant sort of like outlay
Yeah.
of, personal funds in advance. So it is an issue. It is a drain on the city budget, and it's a tragedy that, families aren't getting services. But for a lot of families, like the option is when you don't get the nest seat or et cetera, it's just like to just not get
You're
it.
screwed,
and just,
right.
keep going on in your original placement.
Yeah, and just one piggyback comment, just for those who don't know, with the Carter cases, what happens is you sue. So you spend the money, so you pay 60 or 70, whatever it is, you sue, and then a year, I don't know, God knows what, 2 years later, you theoretically get the money back. So to Gavin's point, he's 100% right. You're outlaying the money, a significant amount of money, and most families cannot do that. So just to clarify for the folks at home. Tam.
Thank you. And don't forget Connor's cases too, right? Which is for families who really can't afford to take that hit. And the DOE barely gives that money out. That's when it's, you get paid as soon as you get the hearing outcome, not way down the road. I just wanted to give you some quick numbers. So in the borough of Manhattan, there are 8 right now. So the Office of District Planning came and visited us, right? I think it was last semester. I live in semesters. And at that point in time, there were 8 Horizon programs in all of Manhattan, only 2 in District 2. There were 14 Nest programs in Manhattan, only 3 in District 2. There were 26 GNT programs in District 2. No, 9 at GNT programs in District 2 out of 26 in the city. Now there are more GNT programs than there are Nest, Horizon, Ames. Looks like the geometry pilot is catching up there too. This is a problem. It's a big problem. There's a pipeline that goes from integrated co-classrooms or ICT classes, right, in public schools, where those kids don't have access to a District 2, Ames, Horizon, or Nest program, right? They don't have a para. Good luck. Happy that there's CEDs in 3K, but guess what? You get to kindergarten, you're not going to get a para. So those kids end up unsupported. There's nowhere for them to go. Guess where the school tells them to go and happily counsels them to go? District 75 placement. Why? We're overfunded for District 75, and the mayor just did it again. So I just want to stress that this relates to District 2 and the entire city. It's an equity issue. It's a money issue, right? But if the mayor's goal, and I voted for the guy, I want to love him. I don't know who's advising him, but if the goal is to bring down the cost of litigation and it's high, right? That these families are paying out of pocket, and to support kids in public schools with disabilities so they don't leave, why would you not support programs that keep them there? And these are 3 of them. And it's a shame we have such a teeny number here in District 2 compared to the rest of the city, right? So it's counterintuitive. He also cut mental health supports, which impact students with disabilities disproportionately higher. So none of this is making sense to my brain. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Then we did the public speaker session, so let's take them all to a vote. I'll start off.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll steal from Russ. Resolution 300, resolution to ensure fair and reliable transit access for all New York City students. I'll make a motion to accept the resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
On resolution 300, Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is a yes. Gloria Chu. Gloria Chu is a yes. Daniela Agrov is absent. Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy is a yes. Aaron Carr is a yes. Cody Lindquist. Cody Lindquist is a yes. Sam Lowe is absent. Tall is absent. Rustam Mavlanov.
Yes.
Rustam is a yes. Tamira Reed.
Yes.
Tamira is a yes. Sabina Serenese. Yes.
I think you said a yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Sabina is a yes. Craig Slutskin?
Yes.
Craig is a yes. Rachel Kenny? Rachel is a yes. Ethan is absent. The resolution passes with 9 yeses, and the rest were absence.
Thank you. Resolution 301, resolution to establish developmentally appropriate screen time limits. I'll make a motion to approve, to accept. Do I have a second? Gloria is a second.
Resolution 301, Allison Bowen. Allison is a yes. Gloria Chu. Gloria Chu is a yes. Daniela Egrov is absent. Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy is a yes. Aaron Carr is a yes. Cody Lindquist. Cody Lindquist is a yes. Sam Lowe is absent. Tal Mazel Shea is absent. Rustam Mavlanov. Rustam Mavlanov is a yes. Tamira Reed.
Yes.
Tamira Reed is a yes. Sabina Serenese.
Yes.
Sabina Serenese is a yes. Craig Slutskin.
Yes.
Craig Slutskin is a yes. Rachel Kenny. Rachel Kenny is a yes. Ethan Kwok is absent. Resolution 301 passes with 9 yeses.
Great. Resolution 302, resolution to establish data transparency and student privacy protections. I'll make a motion to accept. Do I have a second? Gordy is fine. Take it to a vote.
Resolution 302, Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is a yes. Gloria Chu. Gloria Chu is a yes. Daniela Egrov is absent. Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy is a yes. Aaron Carr is a yes. Cody Lindquist. Cody Lindquist is a yes. Sam Lowe is absent. Tal Mazel Shea is absent. Rustam Mavlanov. Rustam Mavlanov is a yes. Tamira Reed.
Yes.
Tamira Reed is a yes. Sabina Serenese.
Yes.
Sabina Serenese is a yes. Craig Slutskin.
Yes.
Craig Slutskin is a yes. Rachel Kenny. Rachel Kenny is a yes. Ethan Kwok is absent. Resolution 302 passes with 9 yeses.
Resolution 303, resolution and calling on the mayor of the city of New York to fully fund expansion of the Nest, Horizon, and Ames programs in the fiscal year 2027 budget. I will make a motion to accept. Do I have a second? Second. Cody will be the second.
Resolution 303, Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is a yes. Gloria Chu. Gloria Chu is a yes. Daniela Egrov is absent. Gavin Healy is, sorry, I was saying ahead of you. Gavin Healy is a yes. Aaron Carr is a yes. Cody Lindquist. Cody Lindquist is a yes. Sam Lowe is absent. Tal Mazel Shea is absent. Rustam Mavlanov.
Yes.
Rustam Mavlanov is a yes. Tamira Reed.
Yes.
Tamira Reed is a yes. Sabina Serenese.
Yes.
Sabina Serenese is a yes. Craig Slutskin.
Yes.
Craig Slutskin is a yes. Rachel Kenny. Rachel Kenny is a yes. Ethan Kwok is absent. Resolution 303 passes with 9 yeses.
Thank you.
Craig,
so-
can I interrupt really quickly before we finish?
Can I just want to say one
Yeah.
thing and then I'll get to you. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. I think I'm very proud of the fact that these are 4 very impactful, important resolutions. We got through all of them, and that they were unanimous. So I just want to thank the council for doing that.
I just want to introduce August. August, if you can come up here. So August is with the Transportation Alternatives Youth Committee. And if you wouldn't mind, August, speaking a little bit about, we just passed the resolution.
Yeah, we have a minute.
Just 1 minute. If you wouldn't mind just speaking and saying a little bit about the work that you guys have done. I know we were running late on time, but if you could just.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys so much for passing this resolution. We've been working for over a year now on our campaign to expand student omni. It seeks to create all those points that were mentioned in the resolution. I know you guys are crunched for time, so I don't want to go through every bit of the campaign, but we've been trying to expand our reach using CC resolutions. So I really want to thank you guys for helping us with our campaign. It means a lot to us that you guys passed this resolution. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your work. When I saw that we weren't represented up there, I wanted to make sure that we'd asked too, so we could help you guys. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for sitting through our meeting. I appreciate it so much.
Okay. Any reports of committees? Okay, then I move to adjourn. All in favor? Okay.
Yes.
Anybody against? Okay, so let's go right into the working business meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 9:44.
Allison Bowen is here. Gloria Chu. Gloria Chu is here. I can't even talk anymore. Daniela Egrov is absent. Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy is here. Aaron Carr is here. Cody Lindquist. Cody Lindquist is here. Sam Lowe is absent. Tom Mazel-Shea is absent. Rustam Mavlanov. Rustam Mavlanov is here. Tamira Reed. Tamira Reed is here. Sabina Saranese. Sabina Saranese is here. Craig Slutskin.
Here.
Craig Slutskin is here. Rachel Kenny. Rachel Kenny is here. Ethan Kwok is absent. We have quorum with 9.
Great, thank you. So we'll start off with the treasurer's report. Anything to?
Don't have any reports so far. So thank you so much for sending your reimbursements on time. We still have our deadline. It's pretty close.
Deadline. Our internal
Yeah.
deadline was last week.
Yeah, that's last week. Yeah, but
If you're going to submit,
yeah,
please submit like
tomorrow, just
because-
tomorrow. That's yeah.
At 4:30 on Tuesday, because it's probably not open. But if you need any help or assistance, please ask me, please ask Victor. But thank you to everybody who got them in. And if you're, I know I made this request, if you feel comfortable, if you're not going to request anything, so we don't have to hound you, please let Victor know. That would be very nice. Okay, liaison school reports, anybody? I'll just say PS2 got a nice little bathroom upgrade. It's not a new bathroom, but it's like a fixture that like the hot water actually works. So, you know, finally I can say something good about SCA. August meeting date. So thank you for those who did respond to the doodle poll. I know not everybody did. I'm not going to say who, but thank you to the 7 council members that did. The most popular times where we got 6 of the 7 who responded were Tuesday the 4th. Just to back up for if anybody's listening to the public, the meeting is the 4th Wednesday would be I think the last week of August, and I think a lot of us just won't be here, so that we probably won't have quorum, and I'd like to make quorum. So the most popular dates are Tuesday, August 4th, Monday, August 10th, Tuesday, August 11th, Thursday, August 13th. Those were 6 of the 7 people who responded. For those who did not, and you're welcome to still come. I don't know if you want to, but but for those of you who did not respond, do you have any? I don't know what your travel plans are, so.
I can be here on the 11th. The 4th, I can't be here.
You responded.
Oh, okay.
Tam, do you have any sense? No. Okay. So okay. Are we comfortable then saying it's going to be Tuesday the 11th, just so we have a date? We can have a date. Is that okay? So right now we have the 11th, which would be 7. Theoretically, if everybody is truthful, we have 7 people, so we'll have a quorum. And if anybody else is there, great.
I won't be here in July. I hopefully will be over Zoom, but I don't know if that's going to be an issue.
You told me, yeah, you told me, and June is more tricky because
July.
Sorry, July is more tricky because July per the bylaws is the 2nd Wednesday. That's what it is. So, okay, well, I'll take a head count for that as well, a person count also for that. Whatever. Okay. Any new business? Okay, well, we finished the first half. We're halfway done for the term. God bless us all. Thank you very much and have a good night, everybody. Move to adjourn. All in favor?
I just made note of when they came in, just so it was handy.